Let us pray. Almighty God, in your wisdom and goodness, have appointed the offices of leaders and legislative assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Can you show me the chamber outside, please? I want to look at the chamber on the outside. Okay. Okay, we have quorum now. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Proceed.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, under this order number, we have communication from the chair. And this, honorable members, concerns the county budget and review outlook paper, CPROP 2020. Good morning, honorable members. I have the following communication to make on Machakos County Budget Review and Appropriation Review Outlook Paper 2020. Section 118(1) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 provides that the county treasury shall prepare a county budget review and outlook paper in respect of the county for each financial year, and submit the paper to the County Executive Committee by the 30th September of that year. Further, Section 118, subsection 4A of the same Act provides that not later than 7 days of the county budget review and outlook paper is approved by the County Executive Committee, the County Treasury shall arrange for the paper to be laid before the County Assembly, and as soon as practicable, after having done so, publish and publicize the paper. Pursuant to this provision of the PFM Act, the Executive Committee member for Finance and Economic Planning submitted the Machakos County Budget and Outlook paper to the Assembly on the 21st day of October 2020 for tabling. The paper is hereby tabled and committed to the Budget and Appropriation Committee for consideration and tabling of a report in this House. Thank you, honorable members. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 3, messages.
Proceed.
Order number 4, petitions.
Proceed.
Order number 5, papers.
Proceed.
Order number 6, notice of motion.
Proceed.
Order number 7, statements.
Honorable members, under this order number, we have one business from the House Business Committee to be transacted by Honorable Alex Kamitu, Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm Alex Kamitu, MCA Talaward and Leader of Minority in this Honorable House. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee met on that 19th and 26th October 2020 to ballot business for the House as forwarded by committees and honorable members pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order number 151, sub 5. The committee balloted additional business for 27th October 2020 and business for 10th November 2020. The business balloted for the 2 days is as follows. 1. Tuesday morning, 27th October 2020 at 10 a.m. A. Report of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on petition by Mr. Aban Mativa, by Honorable Moffat Maitha, Chairperson, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. B. Report of Youth, Women, Sports and PWDs Committee on County Stadia Program by Honorable Geoffrey Kamolu, Chairperson. 2. Tuesday afternoon, 27th October 2020 at 2:30 p.m. A. Report of Transport and Public Works Committee on constructions of county government buildings by Honorable Daniel Mbevi, Chairperson. B. Motion by Honorable Mark Mwendo, Majority Leader, stroke MCA, Kinani Ward, that pursuant to the approved calendar of the County Assembly of Machakos for the 4th session, this Honorable House goes on a short recess from Wednesday, 28th October 2020 to Monday, 9th November 2020. 3. Tuesday morning of 10th November 2020 at 10 a.m. A. The Machakos County Cooperative Enterprise Development Fund Bill 2019, second reading by Honorable Moses Mita, Chairperson, Agriculture Committee. 4. Tuesday afternoon, 10th November 2020 at 2:30 p.m. A. Report of Agriculture Committee on the performance report for the Department of Agriculture for the year 2019/2020 by Honorable Moses Mita, Chairperson, Agriculture Committee. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Alex Kamito. Mr. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 8, motion, approval of report on public petition by Mr. Albanas Mutinda Mativa.
Honorable members, on this order number, we have one business, which last week the motion was read and seconded, and we postponed the motion for the report to be done today on the request of the chair. And therefore, I would request the chair to, first of all, just read the motion again. There will be no need of seconding. You have already been seconded. And then from there, you proceed and read the report. Honorable Moffat Maitha, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Motion. Honorable Speaker, that aware that Section 15 of the County Government Act 2012 provides that a person has a right to petition the County Assembly to consider a matter within its authority, including enacting, amending, or repealing any of its legislation, and aware that the Assembly received a public petition by Mr. Abanas Mutinda Mativa against Gazette Notice number 3633, dated 10th April 2019, as relates to the appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Governor, Machakos County Government, and the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga as a board member of Mavoko Municipality, pursuant to the Standing Order number 194, noting that in conducting its investigations, the committee met with key parties in relation to the petition, including the petitioner, the accused Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga, the Chief Officer, County Law Office, and the Chief Officer, Department of Housing and Urban Development. Further, aware that the committee received relevant documents from various government institutions, including the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Higher Education Loans Board, Machakos County Department of Housing and Urban Development, Machakos County Law Office, Mavoko Municipal Board, and the petitioner in exercise of ensuring the right to fair and administrative action as stipulated in Article 47(1) of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, I therefore wish to move the motion that this Honorable House discusses and approves a report of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on a public petition by Mr. Urbanus Mutinda Mativa against the following. Gazette notice number 633 dated 20th April 2019 as relates to the appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Governor Machakos County Government, and the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Anton Ngunga as a board member of Mavoko Municipality. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I would wish to request, Honorable.
There is no need for seconding. Just go ahead and read. It had already been seconded.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would wish to request you to allow me to read the document. While seated, I have a problem with my knee.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on a public petition by Mr. Urbanus Mutinda Mativa against the following. Gazette notice number 633 dated 10th April 2019 as relates to the appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Governor Machakos County Government, and the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Anton Ngunga as a board member of Mavoko Municipality. Introduction. A preamble. Honorable Speaker, a public petition by a resident of Mavoko Municipality, Mr. Urbanus Mutinda Mativa, was tabled before the Machakos County Assembly and committed to the Sectoral Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs pursuant to the Standing Order number 201 1 for consideration. The petition was against Gazette notice number 636 dated 10th April 2019 as relates to the appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Governor Machakos County Government, and the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Ngunga as a board member of Mavoko Municipality. In conducting its investigations, the committee met the key parties in relation to the petition, including the petitioner, the accused Anton Ngunga, Chief.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order from Honorable Mosmita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm actually trying to access the report in my tablet, but it's not coming. So it's there. Then maybe I can be assisted because I'm unable to access the report.
Yes, I think maybe you give them to take to the IT department for them to check for you. Go ahead, Honorable Moffat.
In conducting its investigations, the committee met with key parties in relation to the petition, including the petitioner, the accused Anton Ngunga, Chief Officer, County Law Office, Chief Officer, Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the manager, Mavoko Municipality Board. In addition, the committee raised pertinent issues in relation to the petition as at a consultative meeting with the Chief Officer and Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Chief Officer County Law Office held on 3rd August 2020. The committee also reviewed relevant documents from various government bodies like the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, the Higher Education Loans Board, Machakos County Department of Housing and Urban Development, Machakos County Law Office, Mavoko Municipal Board, and the petitioner. The committee findings, observations, and recommendations arising from the process are contained in this report. 1.1 Mandate of the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. The Assembly Sectoral Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs is mandated under the second schedule of the Machakos County Assembly, starting orders to handle all matters related to constitutional affairs, the administration of law and justice, including the elections, ethics, integrity, and anti-corruption and human rights. 1.2. Committee membership. The membership of the committee is composed of the following: 1. Honorable Mofat Maitha, Chairperson. 2. Honorable Jane Nyawira, Chairperson, Vice Chairperson. Honorable Eric Musembi, Member. Honorable Alice Njoka, Member. Honorable Dominic Ndabuki, Member. Honorable Francis Kalum, Member. Honorable Muhammad Ali, Member. Honorable Margaret Mbithi, Member. Honorable Robert Kisin, Member. Honorable Jacqueline Munyao, Member. Honorable Stephen Mwandhi, Member. Honorable Jacinda Luka, Member. And the Honorable Angela Munyasia, Member. Committee Secretariat. 1. Ms. Sarah Mwanya, Clerk Assistant. Ms. Dorothy Kingo, Legal Counsel. Ms. Mwikali Maniki, Clerk Assistant. 1 for the petition. Background of the inquiry. The mandate of the County Assembly is to consider any petition from members of the public is vested in Article 119 of the Constitution as read together with Section 15(1) of the County Government Act, which provides that a person has a right to petition the County Assembly to consider any matter within its authority, including enacting, amending, or repealing any of its legislation. The petition by Mr. Abani Mutinda Mativa was tabled before this Honorable House as per the Standing Order number 194, and it was referred to the Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs pursuant to the Standing Order number 201 of the Machakos County Assembly Standing Orders. The petition was against Gazette Notice number 3633 dated 10th April 2019 as relates to the appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Governor of Machakos County Government, and the nomination, approval, and appointment of Anton K. Ngunga as a board member of Mavoko Municipality. B. Summary of issues raised in the petitions. Petition 1. The petition against Gazette Notice number 333 dated 10th April 2019 as relates to the appointment of the Mavoko Municipality Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Governor of Machakos County Assembly. The petitioner challenges Gazette Notice number 3633 of 2019 on the following grounds. 1. That the appointment of members of Mavoko Municipality Board was based on the wrong provision of the law. This is because Gazette Notice number 3633 of 2019 was based on Section 13, which relates to Board of Cities, instead of Section 14, which provides for the Board of Municipalities of the Urban Areas and the Cities Act 2011. 2. That the Governor appointed the chairpersons and the vice chairpersons of the Mavoko Municipality, whose appointment is contrary to Section 17(2) of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 and Section 351 and 371 of the Mavoko Municipality Charter, which provides that the appointment of chairperson and vice chairperson of the Mavoko Municipality Board shall be undertaken by the board members from among themselves in their first meeting. 3. That the appointment of the chairperson and the vice chairperson of the Mavoko Municipality Board by the Governor was erroneous based on the following. A. The Mavoko Municipality Board members were led to take oath of office to the warranting sitting of first meeting of the board to perform his duties, including the election of chairperson and the vice chairperson as at the time the petition was submitted. And B. The board meeting took place to elect the chairperson and the vice chairperson, as may be witnessed by proper notice from secretary of the board or board's resolutions. Number 4, the petitioner further states in the petition that he made efforts to have the matter addressed to the following offices who have failed to act nor give any response on the said matter for the last 4 months as at the time of submitting the petition, hence negating the spirit of fair administration as provided in Section 4 of the Fair Administrative Action Act 2015 as relates to expeditious, efficient, lawful, responsible, and procedurally fair administrative action. A letter to own Evelyn K. Motier, CC Lands, Energy and Urban Development, dated 2nd May 2019, and received on 3rd May 2019. B. Letter of to Governor, dated 27th May 2019, and received on 23rd May 2019. 5. The petitioner also states that none of the issues raised in the petition are pending before any court of law or other constitutional or legal body to the best of his knowledge. 2. The prayers to the county assembly relating to petition 1, number 1. In light of the above, the petitioner pray that the assembly do find that the said Gazette notice number 3633 on the appointment of Machakos Municipal Board, the appointment of the chairperson and the vice chairperson, the purporting board meeting, and subsequent election of the Machakos Municipal Board chairpersons and vice chairperson, as stated in the public communication of the governor dated 27 March 2019, contrary to the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 and the Machakos Municipal Charter, and therefore unlawful, now and void. 2. Do find the said Gazette notice number 3633 lacking the requisite legitimate administrative authority, legal force, and therefore not valid and enforceable in law. 3. Do find that the said Gazette notice number 3633 frivolous for not having serving a serious legislative purpose and value in law, and that it does not deserve the primal purpose of a Gazette notice, that of being the prime facie evidence in all courts and for all purposes. And 4. Do find that the said Gazette notice number 3633 unmerited and therefore inform or direct the governor of Machakos County, His Excellency Dr. Alfred N. Mutua, to forthwith revoke, cancel the said notice and to subsequently issue another proper and legal Gazette notice on the appointment of Machakos Municipal Board. Petition number 2. Petition against the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga as a board member of Machakos Municipality. 1. That the notification letter by the clerk to the nominees dated 4th February 2019, nomination of municipal board members, and the notification by the clerk on the standing newspaper of 5th February 2019, that is vetting of nominees for the position of municipal board members. Both notifications stating the requirements or documents for vetting and approval of the nominees and for which Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga did not satisfy, meet as per the notifications. 2, that the petitioner requested the clerk of the county assembly of Machakos by a letter dated 21st May 2019 for a certified copy of the approved members of the Mavoko Municipality Board by the County Assembly of Machakos. The clerk, by a letter dated 27th May 2019, reference MKS SCA stroke NDM stroke PETT stroke volume 2 stroke 4, provided the petitioner with certified copies of the A, forwarding letter to the county secretary, B, committee report of the approval of Mavoko Municipality Board members, and C, answered report or official report on approval hearing for the 9 persons nominated for the position of Mavoko Municipality Board. 3, that the committee report dated March 2019 indicated in pages 13 to 16 as regards to personal integrity of Mr. K. Ngunga, that he did not present 2 of the required documents, specifically current compliance certificate and a certificate from Higher Education Loans Board, and the current police clearance certificate from the Department of Criminal Investigations, DCI certificate of good conduct. 4, that the answered report dated Wednesday 20th March 2019 for in brackets 7 on Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga's purporting that he had the necessary clearance for the purpose of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and recommending that he be appointed as a member of the Mavoko Municipality Board was erroneous. 5, that Anthony K. Ngunga did not satisfy, meet the requirement of the Constitution, Section 341 of the Mavoko Municipal Charter, Section 14 of the Urban Areas and the Cities Amended Act 2019, Section 78 of the Public and Appointment, that is County Assembly's Approval Act 2017, as it relates to the nomination, approval, and appointment of board member as a result of providing the required documents. Number 6, the petitioner further states in the petition that he made efforts to have the matter addressed through a letter dated 29th May 2019, addressed to the Secretary, County Public Service Board, for which no response has been made for 4 months at the time of submitting the petition to the Assembly, hence negating the spirit of fair administration as provided in Section 4 of the Fair Administrative Act, Action Act 2015, as it relates to expeditious, efficient, lawful, and reasonable, and procedurally fair administrative action. Finally, the petition stated that none of the issues raised in the petition are pending before any court of law or any other constitutional or legal body to the best of his knowledge. 4, prayers to the County Assembly in relation to petition number 2. In light of the above, the petitioner prays that the Assembly do find that the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Anthony Ngunga as a board member of Mavoko Municipality, contrary to the law, regulation, and the procedure, and therefore unlawful, null, and void, for lack of the above 2 named documents required for nomination, approval, and appointment of the board. 2, do find that the administrative action, decision of the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Anton Ngunga as a board member of Machakos Municipality, unmerited, and to forthwith revoke cancel the action decision of the nomination and approval of Mr. Anthony Ngunga from the membership of Machakos Municipality Board, and to accordingly inform, direct the governor of Machakos County, the executive committee member for lands, energy, housing, and urban development, the county law, the county public service board, and the Machakos manager on the repealed decision of the assembly. 1.5 acknowledgement. I wish to thank the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee members for dedicating their time and energy to scrutinize the petition and in the preparation of this report. The committee is equally grateful to the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk of the County Assembly for support according to it as it discharged its mandate. Finally, I wish to thank the petitioner, Mr. Albanas Matiba, and other key parties for finding time to attend to committee meeting to clarify issues stated in the petition. Legal provisions relating to the petition. 2.1. The Constitution and the relevant laws, role and the mandate of the County Assembly. Article 185 of the Constitution mandates the County Assembly, while respecting the principle of separation of powers, to exercise oversight over the County Executive Committee and any other executive organs. 2. Right to petition County Assembly. Article 37 of the Constitution entitles every person to the right, respect the right, peaceful and unarmed, to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petition to public authorities. Article 47.1 entitled every person the right to administrative action that is expeditious, efficient, lawful, reasonable, and procedurally fair. 3. Presentation of the petition. Section 15 of the Government Act 2012 provides that person has a right to petition a county assembly to consider any matter within the authority, including enacting, amending, or repealing any of its legislation. In giving effect to provisions, Standing Order number 201 of the County Assembly of Machakos Standing Orders enables members of the public to submit petitions directly or through members of the County Assembly with the consent of the Speaker to the County Assembly on any matter within the authority of the County Assembly. 4. Invitation of witnesses. Article 195.1 of the Constitution of Kenya provides that a County Assembly or any of its committees has power to summon any person to appear before it for purpose of giving evidence or providing information. Further, Section 18 of the County Assembly's Powers and the Privileges Act provides that the County Assembly or its committees may invite or summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing any information and a document in the possession or under the control of what person, and in this respect, a County Assembly and the committees shall have the same powers as the High Court as specified under Article 195 of the Constitution. 4. Municipality Board. Section 4 and 12. A and B and C of the Urban Areas and Municipalities Act 2011 establishes municipalities through classification whose management shall be vested in the county government and administered on its behalf by board constituted in line with section 13 or 14 of the Act. B. Manager appointed under section 28 and C. Officers of the County Public Service Board. Section 13 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 provides for the establishment of the Board of Cities by outlining the composition and the procedure for appointment, while Section 14 of the Act provides for the establishment of the Board of Municipalities and its procedure for appointment. Section 14 and Urban Areas and the Cities Act 2011 establishes boards of municipalities, which is comprising of the following: the county executive member, for the time being responsible for cities and urban areas, or his representative; 3 members who shall be appointed by the county government with the approval of the county assembly; 4 members who shall be nominated by an association and appointed by the county governor with the approval of the county assembly; D, the chief officer responsible for urban development; and E, the municipal manager appointed under section 28, and they shall be the secretary to the board and ex-official member of the board. Section 15 and 17(1) and 2 of the Act provides that chairperson and vice chairperson of the municipal board shall hold office for 5 years and shall be elected by board members from among themselves during the first meeting of the board or subsequently when a vacancy occurs. Further members of the municipality board shall hold office on a part-time basis for 5 years. Section 19 of the Act provides that in instances where the vacancy occurs in the municipality board, the procedure for filling such vacancy be similar to the procedure applicable used by appointing persons for the said positions. Sections 311, 312, 314, and 315 of the Machakos Municipality Charter provides that the Machakos Municipality Board is an entity within the county government whose management is vested to the county government of Machakos. Further, board is based on agency relationship with the principal being the county government, while the agent is board and they shall be answerable to the governor through executive committee member for matters relating to urban development. Section 10.1.1 and 10.1.2 of the Machakos Municipality Charter provides that Machakos Municipality Board members and all other persons elected or appointed in an office or profit or trust in the municipality must take and subscribe to the oath of affirmation. Further, the charter provides that a municipality manager must take and subscribe to oath of affirmation before the county governor or before one of the sworn deputies, while all the other persons taking the and subscribing the oath shall do so before the municipal manager. Committee inquiry on the petition. Honorable Speaker, during the proceedings, the committee 1 held meetings with the key parties to the petition as follows: Ms. Aban Mativa, the petitioner; Mr. Thomas Kavivia, the chief officer, County Department of Housing and Urban Development; 3, Mr. James Kathili, the chief officer, County Law Office; 4, Mr. Anton Kengunga, the accused. B, reviewed relevant documents from the following persons and institutions: the petitioner, 2, Directorate of Criminal Investigation. 3, the Higher Education Loans Board. 4, Manager, Mavoko Municipality Board. 5, County Department of Housing and Urban Development. 6, Machakos County Law Office, Mavoko Municipality Board. And 7, the Ms. Anthony Ngunga, the accused. 3.2, the committee hearings and evidence taking exercise. Honorable Speaker, the hearing of the witnesses was conducted in compliance with provisions of Section 44A of the Fair Administrative Action Act 2015. The witness is classified as follows. 3.1, submission by Mr. Abanas Mativa, the petitioner. The petitioner indicated as follows: that as a declaration of interest, he was part of the people who were nominated and elected by the County Assembly as a member of the board, and that the hearing took place because the Assembly followed the due process of vetting him, that the Assembly, in a judicial body which resembles the court of law, and they can interpret and arbitrate or tribunal with powers similar to that of the judge. That the Assembly was part of the petition because it approved the nomination of the board and the powers to issue decisions and orders in regard to the petition. That there were a sequence of an administrative action that led him to bring the petition before the House. 1, the governor is using Gazette Notice number 3633, misquoting the law, never stated the terms of office of the board members, and purported to appoint chairperson and vice chairpersons of the board. 2, the chairperson and the vice chairperson of the board would only be elected by the 9 members and not appointed by the governor when they had not taken the oath of office. That he was contesting for the position of chairperson of Mavoko Municipality Board, but when they went to the meeting, he was told to sit down, and that the appointing authority had powers to appoint or to work with. Number 4, that Mr. Anthony Ngunga never submitted all the documents as per the standard newspaper of 14th February 2019, page 19, on the vetting of nominees for the position of municipal board member, and the notification letter dated 14th February 2019 by the Clerk County Assembly of Machakos stated the requirements for the vetting, nomination, and approval of all the nominees. 5, the Machakos County Assembly Committee on Labor, ICT, and Public Service report dated 20th March 2019 on the vetting of the Mavoko Municipality Board was the strongest to disqualify Mr. Anthony Ngunga from the committee. 6, that the committee report shows that Mr. Anthony Ngunga never submitted two documents, and the 3 documents that he brought in different from the sequencing from the rest of the candidates. Documents presented by the petitioner. The petitioner presented the following documents in support of the petition. 1, the public communication for the governor of Machakos dated 27th March 2019 on the appointment of Machakos and Mavoko Municipal Boards. Gazette Notice GZ number 3633 dated 20th April 2019 and published on 18th April 2019. The Gazette Notice number 3633 of 2019 stated that the governor, by the powers conferred by Section 13 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011, had appointed the following persons to the members of the Mavoko Municipal Board: Anthony K. Ngunga, chairperson; Florence Nzomo, local vice chairperson; Stephen Mudhiani, Fekiuva, member; Abanes Motinda Matiba, member; Benedict Njoku Mosembi, member; Sandra Gambuta, member; Caroline Dungu, member; Juliet Wamiri, member. 3. Letter of the CECM, Lands and Energy and Housing, dated 2nd May 2019, on the legal effect of Gazette Notice number 3633 on the appointment of Machakos Municipal Board, written by the meeting, written after the meeting of the 3 municipal boards on 1st May 2019. Letter to the clerk of the County Assembly dated 21st May 2019, requesting for a certified copy of the approved members of the Machakos Municipal Board by the County Assembly of Machakos. 5. Letter to the Governor of Machakos County Government dated 22nd May 2019 on his non-attendance to the meeting held on 21st May 2019 between the World Bank and the 3 municipality boards members, Board of Machakos County, on the matter of Kenya Urban Support Program. 6. Report by the clerk dated 27th May 2019, forwarding to him the certified copy of the approved members of Machakos Municipality Board and the County Assembly of Machakos. 7. The letter to the Machakos County Public Service Board dated 29th May 2019, on the irregular process of the nomination, vetting, approval and appointment of Mr. Anton Ngunga as a member of the Machakos Municipality. The petition dated 30th September 2019 to the County Assembly against nomination, approval and appointment of Mr. K. Ngunga as board member of Machakos Municipality. Letter to the clerk dated 17 October 2019 requesting for certified constitutional and statutory requirements, documents, certificates presented to the clerk by Anthony K. Ngunga during the nomination, vetting, approval and appointment of members of the Machakos Municipality Board with the relevant annexures. 10. Response by the clerk of the clerk dated 25th November 2019 on the request for certified documents, certificates presented to the clerk by Anthony K. Ngunga. The letter previously stated that those are personal documents not to release to public under Article 31 of the Constitution, right to privacy. 11. The letter to clerk dated 1st July 2020, forwarding is supporting documents. Letters with regard to 2 petitions before the Assembly with the relevant annexures. 12. Board operation performance merits, review of the 3 municipalities of Kangundo, Tala, Mafoko, Kangundo, Tala, Mafoko, and Machakos, dated 8th July 2020. Petitioner written submission to the clerk to the County Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs sitting on Monday 27 July 2020 at 2 p.m. in the Assembly chambers with regard to the 2 petitions dated 30th September 2019 and the 1st October 2019, dated 27th July 2020, and a request for judicial notice on the matter of his petition against the appointment of Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga, and the Gazette Notice number 3633 in regard to the Machakos Municipal Board, and his letter to the Director, DCI, dated 28/29. Submission by Chief Officer on Housing and Urban Development and the County Law Office. The County Executive indicated as follows: that the 3 municipal boards, Machakos, Mavoko, and the Kangundo Tala, were established by a charter assigned by Secretary the Governor Dr. Avery Mutua on 27 June 2018, and the enabling law as the time of such establishment was Urban Areas and Cities Act 2013 of 2011. That according to the provisions of Section 1
Number 13 of 2011.
Urban Areas and the Cities Act of number 13 of 2011. That according to the provisions of Section 1 and 2, it is described as an act of Parliament to give effect to Article 183 of the Constitution on to provide for the classification and governance and the management of urban areas and cities, to provide for the criteria of establishing urban areas, to provide for the principle of governance and the participation of residents and for purposes. That the provisions of Section 13 and 14 of the Urban Areas and the Cities Act 2011 provides that the board members of the municipalities are supposed to be appointed by the county executive with the approval of the county assembly. And there is no dispute that such was the case for Machakos municipality. That the only thing Section 14 introduced on top of what Section 13 provides in the number of members in such a board, and other than that, the provisions of Section 13 shall apply with respect to the board of municipality. This is to mean that Section 13 and 14 of Urban Areas and the Cities Act are the same and must be read together. And that the allegation by Mr. Albanas Matiba that the Machakos Municipality Board is illegal by dint of gazettement, quoting Section 13 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 is wrong, both in fact and in law, and that a typographical error can always be corrected by a subsequent gazettement. That the names as proposed by the executive from Machakos Municipality Board are the ones which were presented to the Assembly, vetted and approved by the County Assembly, and further forwarded to for publication in the Kenyan Gazette, and therefore quoting Section 13 instead of Section 14 of the Urban Areas and the Cities Act did not and does not make the appointment illegal or null and void. Borrowing from the provision of the Constitution, the Chief Officer drew the attention of the committee to Article 22(3)(d) and Article 159(2)(d) of the Constitution, where he elaborated the following. Article 159(2)(d) of the Constitution states that justice shall be administered without due regard in procedural technicalities, and therefore the Honorable Assembly, exercising its quasi-judicial functions, is guided by the said provisions in the Constitution not to have undue regard to procedural technicalities which while making its findings. The same spirit is also provided under Article 22(3)(d) of the Constitution, which says that the court, while observing the rule of natural justice, shall not be unreasonable restricted to procedural technicalities. On vacation of office, the chief officer indicating as follows, that the Urban Areas and the Cities Act number 13 of 2011 amend provisions for circumstances that, under which a member of the board shall cease to hold office, and this is provided for under Section 16. That states that a member of the board shall cease to hold office if the member engages in any gross misconduct, which is further provided in Section 312 of the Machakos Municipal Charter. That the appointment authority invoked the above provisions of law and the charter establishing the Machakos Municipal Board, and had Mr. Albanas Mutiba removed from the membership of the board of the Machakos Municipal Board, and the decision was accordingly communicated to Albanas Mutinda Matiba. Operations law, operational law as it now. The chief officers indicated that as follows: that the Urban Areas and Cities Act number 13 of 2011 was subsequently amended as captured in the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Act number 3 of 2019. The amendments included introduction of amendments of section 14 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 by repealing the introduction of by repealing the same and introducing a new category of members to be considered and included in the boards. That after amendment, the following officers were incorporated into a mandatory as mandatory members of the municipal boards. 1, the county executive committee member responsible for cities and urban areas, or is the representative, and the chief officer responsible for urban development. 2, the chief officer responsible for the urban development. Based on the above provisions, the petition therefore lacks merits in law and ought to be dismissed, and therefore prayed that the Honorable Assembly do find the petition by Mr. Albanas Mutinda Matiba is vexatious, frivolous, and unmerited, and proceeded to dismiss the same. Committee resolutions as relates to the above submission. Members directed the 2 chief officers responsible for the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the County Law Office to provide the following documents to the committee in support of the submission: Gazette notice revoking Mr. Matiba appointment, 2 minutes of the Mavoko Municipality Board of the election of chairperson and vice chairperson, and a written submission by the on the presentation that they took written submission on the presentation that they took members through during the evidence taking exercise. 3.4. Submission by Mr. Anthony Ngunga. He appeared before the committee on 17th August 2020 at 2 p.m. and submitted the following in regard of the 2 petitions: that he was not sure of the exact month when the first board meeting took place, but could have taken place either in the month of March or April 2019, in which the following members were present: 1, Mr. Anthony Ngunga; 2, Mr. Stephen Kiuva; 3, Mr. Albanas Matiba; 4, Ms. Florence Loco; 5, Mr. Benedict Musembi; 6, Mr. Chandra Buta; 7, Ms. Juliet Wamiri; 8, Ms. Caroline Ngunga. That the governor, Machakos County, called all the above mentioned persons for the first regular meeting, while the second board meeting was called by the municipal manager. That before the election of the chairperson and the vice chairperson was undertaken, they were informed the need of ensuring gender representation in both positions of the board, and that the election of the chairperson and the vice chairperson was by the secret ballot, with both petitioners and the accused expressing interest to be elected as chairperson. The accused gained 70 votes, while the petitioner got 1 vote, and he foresaw the election of the vice chairperson, which was done through a secret ballot, and Ms. Florence Loco was elected the vice chairperson of Mavoko Municipality Board. That he was not sure of the date when they took oath of office, but he stated that it could be in the month of May 2020, before Machakos Chief Magistrate Court. That he was served with a draft Gazette notice signed by the County Secretary, revoking Mr. Abani Matiba's appointment as a member of Mavoko Municipal Board. 341 documents are presented to the accused. Mr. Anthony Ngunga provided to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee the certificate of good conduct issued on 14 February 2019 and a help certificate issued on 17 August 2020. He informed the committee that he had not brought his help clearance certificate issued on or before 15 February 2019 as directed the committee in the invitation letter, as he thought the committee had requested for the current help certificate. The committee directed him to forward to the office of the clerk of the assembly the help certificate issued on before 15 February 2019. 3.5 documents presented by the municipal manager, Machakos Municipality, by letter of reference Machakos MKS SCA stroke NDM stroke MVKM stroke volume 1 stroke 1 dated 29th July 2020. The clerk of the county assembly informed the Machakos Municipality that the assembly had received 2 petitions for consideration from Mr. Albanas Matiba. To enable the committee make appropriate decision on the said petitions, the manager was requested to submit the following information. 1. Resolution of the Machakos Municipality Board as relates to the appointment of chairperson and vice chairperson of the board as stipulated in section 12B of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 and section 351, section 371, section 521, section 522 and section 523 of the Machakos Municipality Charter. 2. That when the municipality manager of Machakos Municipality was appointed to the office as stipulated in section 13A1 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 and section 621 and section 2 of Machakos Municipality Charter, and 3 copies of oath of office or affirmation of all members of the Machakos Municipality Board as stipulated in section 10.1.1 and section 10.1.2 of the Machakos Municipality Charter. By a letter dated reference GMC 09 stroke MMC stroke MMCL stroke 8 stroke 20 dated 3rd August 2020, the municipal manager Machakos Municipality provided the following documents. 1. Machakos Municipality Board first regular meeting and its election of the chairperson and vice chairperson of the board. By a letter reference CGM stroke MCPAL stroke 01 stroke 2019 dated 24th March 2019, the municipal manager Machakos Municipality invited the following members for the first meeting of Machakos Municipality, which took place on 27th March 2019 at 9 a.m. in the governor's office. 1. Mr. Stephen Mudhiani Kivuva. 2. Mr. Albanas Matiba. 3. Florence Zomo Loco. 4. Mr. Benedict Nzioko Musembi. Mr. Chandra Gambota. Mr. Anthony Ngunga. Miss Julius Warimi, Miss Juliet Ndungu. The agenda of the said body meeting included 1. Courtesy call to the governor, confirmation of quorum and apologies, C. Election of chairperson and vice chairperson, D. Approval of annual investment plan for the year 2019-2020, and E. Approval of IDEP. According to the said above mentioned minutes, Mr. Anthony Ngunga and Ms. Albanas Matiba expressed interest to be elected as chairperson of the Machakos Municipality Board, while Ms. Florence Zomo Loco expressed interest in election of the vice chairperson of the Board of Municipality. Upon election, Mr. Anthony Ngunga was elected as a chairperson with 7 votes, while Ms. Florence Zomo Loko was elected as the vice chairperson unopposed. 2. Approval appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board by a letter reference 2001 2001 7470 dated 17 December 2019, issued by the Machakos County Department of Public Service and Quality Management. Mr. Kamende Boniface Ngumbau was designated to the Mavoko manager while with effect from 1st December 2019. The said redesignation suspended his previous appointment authority letter reference MCG/CPSB/APS/ volume 4/314 dated 7th December 2019. 3. Oath of office or affirmation of members of the Mavoko Municipality Board. On 18th May 2019, Mr. Boniface K. Kamende took oath of office as the municipal manager, Mavoko Municipal Board, Municipality, before the Chief Magistrate Court of Machakos. On 21st May 2020, the following persons took oath of office before the Chief Magistrate as members of the Mavoko Municipal Board: Stephen Mudhami Kibuba. 2. Ms. Florence Somoloko. 3. Mr. Benedict Nzioko Musembi. 4. Mr. Chandra Mbuta. 5. Mr. Anthony Ngunga. 6. Ms. Juliet Wamiri. And 6. Caroline Dungu. Documents presented by the Higher Education Loans Board. By the letter reference MKS SCA stroke HRM stroke help stroke volume 13 dated July 30th 2020, the clerk of the assembly notified the secretary stroke CEO help that the Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs was considering a petition against the nomination, approval, and appointment of appointment of Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga, chairperson, Mavoko Municipal Board, in order to make appropriate recommendation to the House. It was on this basis that the CEO was requested to forward certified copy of the current compliance certificate from Higher Education Laws Board presented to Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga at ID number 104-20222 on or before 15th February 2019. In a letter dated 21st September 2020, reference help stroke 11 stroke 112009 stroke 71. The Chief Executive Officer of HELB notified the Clerk of the County Assembly of Machakos County Assembly as follows. HELB wishes to inform you that Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga of at ID number 104-20222 was not a beneficiary of the government help loans scheme. Documents presented to the Director of Criminal Investigations. By letter reference, MKSSCA stroke at ADM stroke EACC stroke volume 3 stroke 23 dated 23rd July 2020, the Director Criminal Investigations was notified of by the Clerk of the Assembly that the Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs was considering a petition against the nomination, approval, and appointment of Mr. Anthony Ngunga, the chairperson of Mavoko Municipality Board. In order to make appropriate recommendation to the House, it was on that basis that the Director was requested to forward a certified copy of police clearance certificate from Department of Criminal Investigations presented on or before 15th February 2019 to Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga of ID number 104-20-222 by letter dated 5th February 2020, reference CID stroke CRO stroke section SEC stroke 6 stroke 7 stroke A volume V111 stroke 101. The Office of the Director of Criminal Investigations, the National Police Service, notified the clerk of the County Assembly that they were in receipt of correspondence reference Machakos reference MKSCA stroke NDM stroke EACC stroke volume 3 stroke 23 dated 29th July 2020. The letter further stated that they issued the named person with a police clearance certificate as indicated below, but the same had expired. Anthony K. Ngunga, and you can see the ID number, certificate, you can see certificate number, and you can see the date of generation, 07/02/2019. Committee findings. Honorable Speaker, in relation to the matter raised in the petition and submitted under the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee by the witnesses, the committee made the following findings in respect of each petition. For one, petition against the notice number 3633 dated 10th April 2019 as relates to the appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutwa and Governor Machakos County and Government. Whether His Excellency the Governor, number one, appointed members of the Apoko Municipality Board based on the wrong provision of law. Section 13 of the Urban Areas of the Cities Act 2011 provides for the establishment of the Board of Cities by outlining the composition and the procedure for appointment, while Section 14 of the Act provides for the establishment of the Board of Municipalities and the procedure for appointment. Based on the foregoing, the Governor quoted the wrong provision of the law in Gazette Notice number 3633 of 1919 because he meant reference to Board of Cities instead of Board of Municipalities. Therefore, the County Assembly only approved the charter. Based on the foregoing, the Governor quoted the wrong provision of the law in Gazette Notice number 3633 of 2019 because he meant reference to Board of Cities instead of Board of Municipality. This is because the County Assembly only approved the charter for formation of Board of Municipality and not Board of Cities, as per Gazette Notice number 1499 of 2019, issued on the 15th February, published and publishing the Mavoko Municipal Charter. 2. Whether His Excellency the Governor appoint the chairperson and the vice chairperson of the Mavoko Municipality, whose appointment is contrary to Section 17 2 of the Urban Areas and the Cities Act 2011 and Section 351 and 371 of the Mavoko Municipal Charter. Whether the Mavoko Municipality Board has undertaken any regular meetings, whether the election of the chairperson and the vice chairperson of the Mavoko Municipality was undertaken by the Mavoko Municipal Board members, whether there was any proper notice and board resolution on the appointment of Mavoko Municipality Board Chairperson and Vice Chairperson. Section 17, 1 and 2 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011 is read together with Section 351 and 371 of the Mavoko Municipality Charter establishes the office of the Chairperson and Chairperson's Vice Chairperson of the Municipality Board. The office bearers of the said offices are elected from amongst members of the board in their first meeting. According to the documents presented to the municipal manager, annexed Mavoko Municipality Board, the first regular meeting of the Mavoko Municipality Board took place on 24th March 2019, in which the following members were present based on the notice issued by the municipal manager, inviting them for the first Mavoko Municipality Board meeting scheduled to take place on 27th March 2019 at the Governor's Office, as per letter reference number CGM stroke MCP AL stroke 01 stroke 2019, dated 24th March 2019. 1. Stephen Mudhami Kivuva. 2. Urbanus Montiva. 3. Florence Nzomo Loko. 4. Mr. Benedict Nzioka Musembi. 6. Anthony Ngunga. 7. Ms. Juliet Wamiri. 8. Ms. Carolina Ndungu. According to the minutes of the above mentioned members, paid a courtesy call to the office of the governor, who assured them of his support. The first Mavoko municipal meeting was presented over by the municipal manager, who undertook the following activities. A. Invited all members of the meeting and confirmed their attendance, and informed the members that according to the Urban Areas and the Cities Act 2011, they were supposed to elect a chairperson and vice chairperson, while taking into consideration that the said position can only be occupied by person of different gender, conducted and oversaw the election of the chairperson of Mavoko Municipality Board, in which Mr. Urbanus Matiba and Mr. Anton Ngunga expressed interest to be elected as chairperson. Upon conclusion of the election, Mr. Anton Ngunga gained 7 votes, while Mr. Urbanus Matiba gained 1 vote. This resorted to declaration of Mr. Anton Ngunga as the chairperson of the Mavoko Municipality. Conducted and oversaw the election of the vice chairperson of the Mavoko Municipality Board, in which Ms. Florence Loko was elected as the vice chairperson. 6. Whether appointment of chairperson and vice chairperson of the Mavoko Municipality Board was erroneous. On 18 April 2020, the Kenyan Gazette, which registered the newspaper at the office of the government printer, published by authority of the Republic of Kenya, published and publicized Gazette Notice number 3633 of 2019 on the appointment of Mavoko Municipal Board members. The said Gazette Notice, which was issued by the Governor Machakos County Government, appointing dead among others Mr. Anthony Ngunga and Mr. Florence Nzomo Loko to be the chairperson and the vice chairperson, respectively, of Mavoko Municipality Board. Based on the supporting documents presented by the municipal manager, the first regular meeting of the board took place on 27 March 2020, and during the meeting, members elected the board chairperson and the vice chairperson. The committee observed that the governor could only have relied on the board minutes to appoint the chairperson and the vice chairperson as per issued Gazette Notice. 7. Whether members of Mavoko Municipal Board had taken oath and subscribed to affirmation before the assuming office. Section 10.1, 10.1.1, and 10.1.2 of the Mavoko Municipality Charter mandates all the members of the Mafoko Municipality Board to take oath and subscribe to affirmation. Mr. Kamende Boniface Ngumba was redesignated to be Machakos manager of Mafoko Municipal Board on the 1st December 2019. The municipal manager must therefore take and subscribe the oath of office before.
Point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I stand under standing order number 27 on extension of time. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, the hours of morning we are supposed to sit until 12:30. And standing order number 27 requires that the motion be moved to seek extension of time. So in this matter, I wish to move a motion that we extend until the business at hand is completed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I call upon Honorable Nziva to second my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members present, I'm Honorable Nziva. I stand to second the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Member. This is just a procedural item of extension of time. So I do believe that since we have a report which is being read, we shall extend time until we finish. Anybody with a contrary opinion? And the time is extended. Let's go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. The first regular meeting of the Mafoko Municipal Board was held on 27 March 2019. And on 18 May 2019, Mr. Boniface K. Kamende took oath of office as the municipal manager, Mafoko Municipality, before the Machakos Chief Magistrate Court, while the following members took oath of office on 21st May 2020 before the Machakos Chief Magistrate Court as members of the Mafoko Municipal Board. One, Mr. Stephen Modian Kivuva, Mr. Florence Zomo Loko. 3, Benedict Nzioka Musembi. 4, Mr. Chandra Kumbuta. 5, Mr. Anthony Ngunga. 6, Mr. Juliet Wamiri. And 7, Ms. Caroline Dungu. The committee observed that the manner and the time in which the oath was taken and subscribed was a violation of the provision of the Mafoko Municipal Board Charter, which all members are expected to comply with. Petition number 42, petition against the nomination of and approval appointment of K. Ngunga as a board member of Mafoko Municipality. Whether the nomination of and approval of an appointment of Mr. K. Ngunga as a board member was lawful ab initio, and whether Mr. Anthony Ngunga lacked current compliance certificates, the certificate before from the Higher Education Loan Board and the current police clearance certificate from the Department of Criminal Investigation, DCI certificate of good conduct required for nomination, approval, and appointment of Mafoko Municipal Board. According to the report of the Assembly, Committee on Labor, Public Service and ICT on approval hearings for 9 persons nominated for the position of Mafoko Municipal Board. The accused only presented the following documents during the approval hearings when appeared before the committee. 1, on 27th February 2019 at 10 a.m. 1, self-declaration certificate and declaration form ESEC, 14th February 2019. Tax compliance certificate valid on 16 May 2019, and a credit bureau certificate issued on 8th February 2019. During the evidence taking exercise held on 17th August 2020 at 2 p.m., the accused presented to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee police certificate clearance reference number, reference PCC AAAIF Q G5, issued on 14th February 2019. He also presented to the office of the clerk, County Assembly, help certificate, clearance certificate issued on 11 February 2019. Whether the Assembly can revoke the appointment of Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga as a member of Mavoko Municipal Board. Section 18.1.2 A and B, C, 3 and 4 of the Urban Areas and Municipality Act 2011 provides that a person may be removed from the office of chairperson, vice chairperson, or a member of the municipal board based on the following grounds. If a member is unable to perform the function of the office by reason of mental office or infirmity, 2, is declared or becomes bankrupt or insolvent, 3, resigns in writing to the county governor, 4, without reasonable cause, the member is absent from 3 consecutive meetings of the board or committee within 1 financial year, 5, is found guilty of professional misconduct by the relevant professional body, 6, is disqualified from holding a public office under the Constitution, 7, is convicted of an offense and is sentenced to an imprisonment for terms of 6 months or more. 8 is in any particular case the member fails to declare his or her interest in any matter being considered or to be considered by the board or the committee. 9, engages in any misconduct, or 10, dies. A resident of a city or municipality may file in writing a petition with a board for the removal of a chairperson or vice chairperson. Further, a municipal board member may be removed from office by 1, the county governor, 2, by the board, supported by 4, not at least 2/3 of the members of the board, or 3, upon petition by the resident or of a city or municipality. From the foregoing, therefore, the committee does not have the power to revoke Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga's appointment, but can only recommend that he be removed from office subject to the available law. 5. Committee observations. Honorable Speaker, in respect to the above findings, the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs Committee made the following general observations. There was contradictory information on the conduct of election of the vice chairperson based on the information and the presentation given by the committee by the accused, Mr. Anthony Ngunga, and the Mavoko Municipal Manager, Mavoko Municipality. 2, that the chief officers responsible for the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the County Law Office never presented the Gazette notice revoking Urban Mativa as a member of the Mavoko Municipality Board.
Point of order.
Honorable Speaker, the recommendations, the 5-0 I have here is not what the honorable member is reading, so I don't know if there could be a problem.
Mr. Chairman, it is only number 1, and the number 1 is the one which I sought permission from the chair so that we can go and look at those 2 conflicting evidences.
Yeah, but
one is represented by just number 1.
Honorable Moffat Maida, that amendment was not moved. So I would request that you read number 1 as was in the original report. And if there is any subsequent amendment which needs to be done, it can be done on the floor of the House once the report has been amended. Because if you make an amendment, once the report becomes the property of the House, you need to read it as it is. And if there is an amendment to be made, then the amendment should have been made to the notice the office of the Speaker at least 1 hour before he came to the Assembly. So just read as it was in the original report. Thank you.
Number one, that the chief officers responsible for the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the County Law Office never presented the Gazette notice revoking Urban Matiba as a member of the Mavoko Municipality Board as directed by the committee. That Mr. Urbanas Matiba is still a member of Mavoko Municipality Board as his appointment has not been revoked. That Mr. Anton K. Ngunga never submitted his police clearance certificate from Department of Criminal Investigations and a compliance certificate from Higher Education Loans Board issued on before 15th February during the approval hearings as stipulated requirements and as per the Assembly Committee on Labor, Public Service and ICT on the approval hearing for 9 persons nominated for the position of member Mavoko Municipal Board. That Mr. Anton K. Ngunga presented before the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs during the evidence-taking exercise on 17th August 2020 at 2 p.m. the police clearance certificate, reference PCC AAA 1F QG5 issued on 14 February 2019. That Ms. Anthony K. Ngunga presented to the office of the clerk of assembly help clearance certificate issued on 11th February 2019. 8. What number is that? 6. That the office of the clerk wrote to the director, DCI, and the CEO help requesting them to confirm and verify the authenticity of public clearance certificate reference PCC dash AAA 1F GQ5 and a help clearance certificate issued on 14th February and 11th February 2019 respectively to Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga, copies of which were attached to the said institutions. That the CEO help by letter dated 21st September 2020, reference help RR stroke 112009 stroke 71 informed the clerk of the county assembly that Ms. Anthony K. Ngunga was not a help beneficiary. That the office of the DCI, National Police Service, by letter dated 5th August 2020, reference CID stroke CRO stroke SE stroke 6 66 stroke 7 stroke A volume 8 stroke 01 informed the clerk county assembly that they had issued Anton K. Ngunga with a police clearance certificate number reference PCC AAA 1F QG5. That the office of the clerk county assembly received Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga's police clearance certificate from DCI and a compliance certificate from help issued on before 15th February 2019 and the approval hearing of Mr. Anthony K. Ngunga for the nomination of the petition of Mavoko Municipal Board. 11. That the petitioner was being victimized or for informing the appointing authority of the Mavoko Municipal Board to comply with the law. Committee recommendations. Honorable Speaker, in light of the above, the committee recommends that the following: that the Governor Machakos County Government issues another Gazette notice quoting the right provision of law and stating the term of office and revoke the Gazette notice number 3633 of 2019, which was based on the wrong provisions of the law. 2, that the appointing authority or its agent involved in the operation and the management of Mavoko Municipal Board should accept and appreciate concept on divergent views in the operation and the management of the board. Further, they must always uphold the rule of law in the conduct of the affairs of the public office, and that they should and must not victimize any person for expressing their views based on the law. 3, the petitioner should be allowed to participate in the management and the affairs of the Mavoko Municipal Board, and should be given an opportunity to express his ideas without discrimination on the management of the affairs of the Mavoko Municipal Board. All members of the Municipal Board must always take and subscribe to all the office, assuming duties in the manner prescribed by the law. The petition must be paid all standing use as conferred to him by operation of law for being member of the Mavoko Municipal Board. Affirmation and approval. Honorable Speaker, it is therefore my pleasure, duty, and privilege on behalf of the Sectoral Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to table this report on the petitions by Ms. Albanas Matiba in this Honorable House for consideration and approval. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable. Yes, point of order.
It is point of information, Mr. Speaker. I just want to inform the House that the committee has based its argument on a Gazette notice, which has since been revoked by another Gazette notice.
Point of order,
So, Mr.
Honorable
Speaker,
Speaker.
I'm seeking for your indulgence to address to advise the House whether we should continue debating on a report which has already been revoked. Mr. Speaker,
Point of order, Mr.
I want to
Speaker.
table the. Yeah? Yes. Sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My name is Honorable Moses Mita, Majority Whip and representing Kangundo Central Ward people. Honorable Speaker, I think it's the norm of the House for not a member to keep a document which is expected to be used as a subject in this House. So if the honorable member, Matu honorable member, has a document which he would want to be subjected to the matter at the hand in this honorable House, let it be received in the House in the normal way, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just advise the honorable member that when a petition is made and brought before the assembly and committed to a committee, and a committee goes ahead and makes a report, any subsequent gazettements or corrections which have been made will be read together with the report. So I know and I'm aware of Gazette notice dated 19th of August 2020, number 8488, which was issued by His Excellency the Governor. I'm aware about that. And I'm aware it has not been presented before the House on the normal way it is supposed to be presented before the House. And therefore, members should just take note during their debate that some of the issues which the report might have raised might have been addressed by that Gazette notice, but that would mean that during your debate, you just say this has been rectified by a subsequent report number this, but we cannot stop the debate on the report. You just quote the report, and I would like that report to be tabled before the House. If the honorable member has it, it should be laid before the House so that it can be made a reference to. Honorable members, I think the matters which are on hand have been laid bare by the report and the issues which the petitioner requested for. A committee has made recommendations on those issues which have been raised by the committee, And I therefore would like to just give guidance that let the Honorable House debate on the recommendations. The issues we are talking about here is the committee has done a report and made recommendations. So all what is there in the report is now passed. Let's look at the recommendations and debate on the because remember, we are going to vote to adopt the recommendation of the committee or not to adopt the recommendations of the committee. So I would like the members to debate on the recommendations on the committee. Honorable Judas Ndawa, you may contribute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for your guidance. Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want first of all to commend the committee for the good job they did because they were very much committed to compile this report. The only problem with the report is that it is based on documents which have since expired. Mr. Speaker, what I want to say is that according to the report which was given here, you can see, everybody can see that this is a fight between two members of the board. That is neither the petitioner and the chairperson. And Mr. Speaker, I would request the House not to be used by people for their self-gain. Mr. Speaker.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Point of information, Honorable Moses.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think my senior colleague is misleading this Honorable House, Honorable Speaker. A petition, once it's received in this Honorable House, it's approved. So it means it has passed the merits which any petition can be allowed to be discussed in this Honorable House. So for him to state that these are wars, it's a fight between two individuals, I think it's also demeaning whoever accepted this petition to be passed to the committee. Honorable Speaker, let's dwell on the petition, not on individuals. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Before you continue, Honorable Judas Ndawa, I think I've given some guidance so that we can be able to, it's not an issue of county importance. So the directions I've given are, let us concentrate on the recommendations made by the committee. The committee has done for us all the work. It has done for the Honorable House all the work. They have looked at all the evidence. They have looked at the issues Honorable Judas Ndawa is talking about. They have looked at the issues Honorable Moses Mita is talking about. So let's read their recommendations and contribute whether their recommendations are, we are in acceptance with it. Because remember, when we'll be voting, and I'm repeating this again, you'll be voting to adopt, not the report, but the recommendations made by the committee on the report. That is what you'll be voting to adopt. Whether we are going to adopt the recommendations as made by the report, or we are not going to adopt the recommendations as made by the committee. So the other issues, because we also have another motion which is coming, the other issues which have already been clearly written for in the report, I would guide that let's stick to the recommendations and see whether they can be able to give us a proper guideline as to the decision the House is going to reach at the end of the day. Honorable Judas Ndawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just go direct to the recommendations you have requested us to do. Mr. Speaker, I will start with recommendation number 3. Mr. Speaker, if I can read recommendation number 3, it says that the petitioner should be allowed to participate in the management and affairs of the Mavoko municipality. Mr. Speaker, according to the new gazettement, this petitioner is not a member of Mavoko municipality. And there is no way a stranger can sit in a board. So he was that time. But as per now, is not a member and he cannot be allowed to sit in that
Point of order,
board.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I kindly request for your protection and
Point
request-
of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Moses, maybe you, okay, go ahead.
Thank you,
but
Mr.
I would
Speaker.
say Once you give the point of order, let him finish his submissions, then we
I will, Honorable Speaker,
ahead.
but my humble request, now that Honorable Ndawa is still insisting on a notice which has not been received in this Honorable House, Mr. Speaker, can that notice be issued to this Honorable Speaker? You can pass the law and accept, so that we also check on the notice which the honorable member is holding. Otherwise, to us, we don't know whether there is a notice which has been issued. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now, let me again give some guidance on this. And this is now, I think, is a direction we are going to take, honorable members. The Gazette notice, as I've told you, you're talking about, came subsequent to the report, came subsequent to the petition. And therefore, the recommendations which the report has made, if they have been superseded by a subsequent Gazette notice later on, then that Gazette notice, the House is going to adopt the recommendations as made by the committee based on the evidence they had as at that time. We are in an evolving situation. So if subsequently the governor goes ahead and issued Gazette notice dated 19th August 2020, number 8488, which has not been tabled before this House, once that gazettement is tabled before the House, then the House will take consignment of the findings of that item in the implementation stage of the report. And therefore, for now, this report is guided by the Gazette dated 10th April 2019, number 3633. That is the Gazette notice we are going to concentrate on. If subsequently another gazettement has been issued, then during the implementation phase, that will come into place, because as at the time the decision is being made by the House, we do not have that document and it was not presented before the committee. Thank you, Honorable Judas, and you may conclude your submission.
Thank you.
Point of information, Honorable Speaker. Point of information.
Let Honorable Judas now finish his submission, please. Thank you.
Yes, before I finish, Mr. Speaker, I would request you to allow me, first of all, to table these documents so that people can speak from a point of
Honorable
knowledge.
Judas, you may table the report, but it is not going to take any effect now. It will only take effect after the report has been adopted by the House, as I've given you guidelines, Honorable Judas. Now, thank you. Do you have any more submissions you want
Yes,
to make,
Mr.
Honorable
Speaker.
Judas, before I allow
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
the next member? Yeah.
It is clear to everyone that a document that emanates from a government office can only be quashed by an order known as order of certiorari. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying, since now we have the Gazette notice, which has been published, nobody can say no to that Gazette notice. If anyone is not happy with the Gazette notice, let him or her go and obtain an order of certiorari from any High Court of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Steve Mwandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I believe that the Chairman, Justice and Justice Committee has just read a very lengthy report here in the House, and the reasons as to why he has read all that report was for members to listen and debate on the entire document, Honorable Speaker. So in my view, I think I need to I need to debate the entire report, but not the recommendations of the report only, Honorable Speaker. On the report, Honorable Speaker, what we've just heard is that this petition, or the petitioner, going through the entire report, you'll realize that 80 or 90% of his prayers were false. The respondent, who is Anton Gunga, according to the report, and that was received in the assembly by the assembly clerk, indicates that this person did not receive help from the government of Kenya. meaning whatever the petitioner brought to the committee was false information. Two, the DCI report also indicated that Anton Gunga still had the certificate of good conduct by the time the committee was seated. And so I don't see the reason, and again, Honorable Speaker, okay. Honorable Speaker, again, I'm getting worried if a member can produce an evidence of the information or his debate, and then the information, if found to be original and authentic, then Speaker says it will not be debated on or used in this honorable house. According to me, Honorable Speaker, this is not the first time, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Steve, you may sit down. Thank you. Honorable Steve, I have not said that a document is not going to be considered before the House. I have said that the document which has been brought before the House was not in the hands of the committee as at the time they were doing their report, which has been read before the House. That is what I have said. And therefore, I have said that this report is a Gazette notice dated 23rd of October. When was this committee petition put before your committee, Honorable Chair?
It was sometimes when we were doing, I think in March, when we were doing
Thank you.
Skype.
So, Honorable Steve Mwandi, the committee has been considering a report from March 2020 and is bringing a report on the today is 26th of October. And I have a Gazette notice dated 23rd of October 2020. And therefore, I have not said the report, this is not valid. It's a legal Gazette notice which is valid. But the report, which has been presented before the House, was already done before this document was presented. And therefore, debate on the, as I've said, debate on the report as it is, because that is what was before the committee, and that is what the chair and the members considered. And then any subsequent information coming thereafter, as I've given direction again, will take precedence in that the report now, going forward, the actions of the report will be guided by the documentation which has been brought before the House after the report had already been accepted as a document of the House. So this is now property of the House, and whoever is going, whichever implementation committee is going to do on the issues recommended here, will take into consideration the issues raised in the Gazette notice. And I think that is the right way, and that is what I've given direction to, and that's what we're going to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, going as per your directives, I will read the recommendations number 1. Recommendation number 1 states that the Governor, Machakos County Government, issues another Gazette notice quoting the right provisions of the law and stating the term of, and quoting the term of office and revoke the Gazette notice number 3633 of 2019, which is based on wrong provisions of the law. And I believe if that document is authentic, I believe that is what has been done. So why should we again drag ourselves to debate on something that has already been done?
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
It doesn't add any value to the House, Honorable Speaker, to me, and so for me, I don't support, and I don't think there is any need.
Just let the honorable member finish and sit down, please. Then
yes, Honorable Speaker.
Go ahead,
in fact, I'm just concluding that. To me, I'm not seeing the importance of this report to be adopted by this House. Rather, we'd just quash it and have other business now to
Point
continue.
of information,
has
Mr.
been
Speaker.
Here has been addressed. Thank you.
Point
Honorable
of
Speaker.
information, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Moses Mita. Then from there,
Thank
we
you.
go to Honorable
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Katumo.
Honorable Speaker, in fact, we might also be subjecting a debate on a faulty document, Honorable Speaker. As much as I'm yet to receive or else to see what has been tabled on the table, Mr. Speaker, on the Gazette notice, Honorable Speaker, I guess it's the same Gazette notice which I've downloaded, which is itself is faulty, Honorable Speaker. And it states, Gazette notice number 8488, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Act number 3 of 2019, County Government of Machakos, appointment of Mavoko, Kangundo, Tala, and Machakos municipality boards. In exercise of the powers conferred to me by Section 14 of the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Act 2019, as read together with the respective municipal charters, I, Governor, County Government of Machakos, appoint the following persons to be members of Mavoko. Then it goes ahead, Honorable Speaker. I hope it's the same document which has been tabled in this House. It refers, Honorable Speaker, 1, Evelyn Kavu, MS, Mutie, MS, as Chief Executive Committee member. And what I know, the position of the CCM, it's not chief, it's county. So I don't know whether it's the same document, and it reads the same when it comes to Kangundo, when it comes to Machakos. So, Honorable Speaker, I hope it's the same document which has been tabled. Mr. Ndawa, Honorable Ndawa can confirm whether that's the same notice which is being brought to this House, when itself it's faulty, Mr. Speaker. Please, we need your guidance, sir.
Thank you.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Can I?
Yes, I want to inform the Honorable.
Can I give direction?
Yes, please.
That's the reason why the chair has directed, and this is final. This document will only come into effect after the debate and adoption of the report. Because, as you have heard, this is a report which was not before the House, which has not been considered by the House. You can see there are already issues being raised on the report, which the committee did not have. If the committee had this report or this document with them when they were looking at the report, they would have pointed out such errors as the honorable member is pointing out. Do you want me now to debate on the report, which is already being challenged on its authority? Do you understand my direction on this report? Let us debate on the report as it is, presented before the House. Any subsequent document which has been brought today will be looked at subsequently. Honorable Justice Katumo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. My name is Honorable Justice Katumo, the chairperson of Ward Rangers Committee, a member nominated by Wiper Party, Kenya, to represent persons with disabilities. The voice. First, before I contribute, I want to dwell on the report myself. But you remember last time when we were in this House, when this report was supposed to be read, the committee, through the chair, requested for extension of time. This is the same report that we had then. I did not see an amendment. I did not see any new information. And going by the spirit on the very minority of this House, there is a lot to be desired. Because you request for extension of time, try to get a Gazette notice, which comes just few days before this report is
Point
read.
of information.
Point of information by the chair of Justice Legal.
It is unfortunate that Honorable Katumo said we requested for an adjournment waiting for a Gazette notice. If we had waited for it, Would I not have included it in the committee recommendations? Let us be man enough to talk the truth. The committee did not discuss about that in document. We would have included it here. Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Thank
Honorable
you,
Justice
Mr.
Katumo, you may
Speaker.
proceed.
I think I was not heard. No, I was not heard. You should learn to listen. What I said, there was an extension, request for extension of time. Then I do not see an amendment, any new information.
Point of information, Honorable Speaker.
Then secondly, I say,
Point of information.
what is taking precedence?
Let the honorable member finish.
What
Let
is
me
taking
otherwise we will
precedence
move forward.
in this
I'm
house?
trying to not control the contributions. Conclude, Honorable Justice Katumo, so that we can move
I'm
forward.
just beginning. I'm not concluding. You see, I've just begun. Even I've not contributed to the report. But I was just try to wonder. Because what is taking precedence is a Gazette notice that we have not seen. But having said that, Honorable Speaker, Honorable members, going by the recommendation, firstly, I want to recommend the committee because I was invited in this committee when they are doing this report. And we contributed, and it was very nice. We had issues that we are going through, and I think these are the recommendations that we came through. But I also want to also applaud the petitioner for being man enough as a resident of Machakos in trying to uphold the law. You see, we, in the beginning, when the chair was reading the report, he gave the mandate of the county assembly on matters concerning petition and the position and what we are supposed to do. And I thank the committee and the petitioner for doing this. When you go through the recommendation, one of the speakers said that 80% of what the petitioner said is false. I don't agree with that. When you go to recommendation number 1, it says the governor, Machakos County government, should issue Gazette notice that are coherent with the law, of which he did not do, according to the observation and what was presented. And therefore, the committee directs the appointing authority to follow the law. Then secondly, you find that the appointing authority in trying to involve itself in operation of the management of the Mavoko Municipal Board should accept the concept of divergent views. And if you read through the report and you listened, you went along with the chair when he was reading, one of the mistakes of the petitioner was just to tell or to express that there is need to follow the law and the procedure. Mr. Speaker, when you go to 4 and 5, from the evidence that was presented in the committee and during its report writing, you find that the procedure for taking the oath, and in fact, on how it was done and what was supposed to be done according to the charter, for those who have gone through the charter, it was done wrongly. And of course, the petitioner here requesting the appointing authority, the executive, and the county assembly to make sure that due process is followed, I find it important for us and for this committee. What I find that the committee has not expressed itself coherently, very clear, is to say that the board is illegitimate, is illegal. Because if, in fact, going by what was presented and the findings here, it is true the board is illegitimate, is illegal in office. This is not the recommendation that was not done here. The committee was not bold enough to recommend this board is illegitimate. And therefore, I should say, we are the custodian of the law. We are the ones who approved the charter. We are the ones who make laws in this house.
Point of order, Honorable Alex Kamito.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I have just stand here to to inform my honorable brother that my point of order is that he cannot say the board is illegitimate or it is illegal. One thing in the report, it is clearly indicated that these people, our oath of office was taken, was affirmed to them by a chief magistrate. That is a legal office. So he's misleading the House to say that the board was not legal. It is very legal because in the report, date of oath affirmation, when the oath was taken by a chief magistrate of the Kenya government. So what is he talking about when he's talking about the board is not legal? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I want to conclude, Honorable Speaker, but I can't, of course, let the minority leader just pardon hearsay in this House. It seems he has not read properly what the Charter pronounces itself as terms of how the oath should be taken. But I've of course, told him that way. I think, Honorable Speaker, as custodian of the law, as an oversight, we cannot put a spirit overtone on this report as if we are speaking for the executive. We should play our part, and they should play their part. Because if they have done the wrong, we should tell them. And, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, it gives a great impression of what goes on behind the scenes of the many things that are not done, that are not implemented. What we have passed in the House is not what is done, is supposed to be done on the other side. And therefore, I want to thank the committee, and I want to thank the petitioner for opening our eyes to see the wrongs that the other side is doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ellen.
I'm Helen Detty, Wiper nominated. I stand also to congratulate the committee, but my points are very brief and short. First, I want to state that the petitioner, Mr. Mutinda Mativo, has a constitutional right to bring a petition to this House if he feels aggrieved. Secondly, the House passed or approved the formation of municipalities and not cities. So I think our governor erred in using the law of appointing city board members and not municipality board members. My other point is also to say that when you go for an exam or an interview, it is very well known that whatever requirements were in the interview or in the advertisement must be met. Otherwise, then it won't be a legal interview. It appears like Mr. Anthony Gunga, at the time the interviews were being conducted, did not meet the criteria. It did not produce this certificate of good conduct from CID.
Point of information, Mr.
It did not bring the EOB certificate as per the stipulated regulations in the interview.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
It's very...
Leaders, you have given several points of information. I want the debate to move on, please.
Members,
Because
even...
I've not heard anything which she has said, which...
I just want, it's more information.
Let us conclude, please, so that we can have the
Yeah,
debate
so that
moving
you
on.
don't interfere with
Go
my
ahead.
line of
No,
thought.
Honorable Ellen, you address the chair, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. But you know, sometimes it's, I don't want somebody to interfere with
Go
my
ahead,
line of
Honorable
thought. Yeah.
Ellen, please.
Yeah. Okay, the other thing that I noted, which is very grievous, is that when these boards were formed, the positions of the chair and vice chair were supposed to be done by the members themselves. They should have sat, voted, and agreed on who is going to be the chair and the vice chair. This did not take place. So why as members and grown-ups and people who have been to school, why should we continue to encourage an illegality on another illegality?
Honorable Ellen, I think in the report, when it was being read, I saw there was a tabulation of a report which saw that that happened.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I
So,
withdraw.
yeah.
I withdraw that point.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Yeah. But for me to conclude, I still feel that as members of this House, let us not cover issues. Let us speak the truth. Let us be transparent, and let us make sure that whatever we come up with is going to be of benefit to the people of Machakos and to the petitioner, more so Mr. Mutinda Mativo, whom I don't know. But let us listen to his petition, his prayers.
Honorable members, so that we can be able to move ahead yes, I'm making a contribution, a guideline to the House. So just give me, I'll come back to you, Honorable Ikusia. What I'm saying is this, and the guideline I'm giving is this. As a House, what honorable members are supposed to be looking at is issues, not other. Concentrate on the issues which have been raised by the petitioner, addressed to this House of Law. The issues he has raised. If the issues he has raised are addressed, the rest, as a House, my guideline is you should not bother with the rest. Just look at the legal issues he has raised and see how best, as a legal House, we can be able to address those issues he has raised. And once they are addressed, because, for example, as I've told you, when I look at this Gazette notice, it is now stating Section 14. The other one was reading Section 13. So some of the issues he had raised here already are being tried to be, because he's talking about issues of the law. And we are House of Law, a House of Procedure. So as we do our debates, let's leave alone I'll just give you a guideline. Forget about the emotions. Look at the issues he's raising. One of those issues he's raising as a House of Law, we concentrate on those issues. Make sure that that appointment or that board does not have an issue legally. That's why you are the legislative arm of the law. And once it does not have issues legally, you are okay, because you are the ones who are supposed to be ensuring that all offices in this county are there based on the law. That's all what we are debating here, not personalities. Let's not look at it as if Anthony Gunga is the brother of Gunga, and now there are issues raising here. No. My guideline is, let's look at the petitioner and the issues the petitioner has raised to ensure that even if Anthony Gunga remains in his office, he remains there based on and properly. That's what we need to concentrate on. Honorable Kaloki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting me this opportunity to make a contribution to this report. My name is Honorable Ikusia Kaloki, representing Kangunda West Ward. Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that we have to deal on the law and also to avoid making some decisions or recommendations or arriving at decisions that might end up being challenged in a court of law. We need to be seen to be also a disciplined and a house of order. Mr. Speaker, I've heard what the other speakers have said and also looked at the report. And one thing I want to say is that I want to seek your permission that I don't want to dwell so much on the recommendation, only on the recommendation, but I also look at the recommendations and the qualifications that qualify one to become a member of a board. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the submissions, number one, the requirements that were requested by the board that was interviewing Anton Gunga, as well as the petitioner. It's very clear, and it has been said by several other speakers, that all the documents that were requested, that were required as per the law, were presented by Mr. Anton Gunga. There's something people need to understand. For example, if you are not a beneficiary of Higher Education Laws Board, what that means, one, is that from my understanding, you may have not been a regular student. You may have not benefited, but you still went through the university education. You paid for your own school fees, so automatically you do not qualify, you do not benefit from HELB loans. But you get a certificate of clearance showing that you never benefited or you are not a beneficiary, which Anton Gunga in this case presented before the team that was interviewing him. It's also very clear that the certificate of good conduct, I don't want to dwell so much on that. But if you look at number 3, on committee recommendations, Mr. Speaker, if you look at point number 3,
Point of information, Honorable Angela.
Honorable Speaker, I would like to correct the member who is speaking, who is on the floor, that Mr. Ngunga did not present the clearance from HELP during the interview. Those are documents that were brought after the interview, so they were not presented before the panel. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Honorable Angela. You may proceed, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to put it very clear that I've sat in several interview panels, and I'm sure you've done equally the same. Mr. Speaker, sometimes you may find a candidate at the time of interview had the required qualifications, but there are some documents that were not available at the time of interview, and they're normally requested to go and forward the documents, either by email or in person. It is allowed in law, Mr. Speaker. It is allowed in law, Mr. Speaker. It is allowed in law. We can even peruse what the law says. If I'm requested to appear before an interview and I have a degree or a certificate in a certain qualification, which is not available at the time of interview, the interviewing board is at its discretion either to ask me to bring the document at a later date.
Honorable Ikusia,
Yes.
you have proof that the board requested Anthony Ngunga to bring the document at a later date?
I don't have that, but I was just responding to the member who has just spoken.
That whatever you state here, you need to be able, if it was there, I'm very sure the committee would have included that in its report. I've not seen anywhere where the interviewing board requested the gentleman to bring any document later on. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, on point number 3, that's the committee recommendations, Mr. Speaker. If you look at, if you read the report very well, one, you find that the petitioner is someone who participated in an election which he lost to Mr. Anton Ngunga. And as a result of that, because he was probably never satisfied, he sounds a bit disgruntled. He went ahead to file a petition to challenge. To me, he should have challenged the election of the members of the board, but not the appointment of Mr. Anton Ngunga as the chair and also as a member of the board. As an assembly, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it is our responsibility or our duty to force the appointing authorities to reinstate people who have already been removed from some certain bodies or organizations. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that there is a gazette notice which has been presented to you by one of the honorable members. Mr. Speaker, I want to refer you to a time when we were discussing, I think, a court judgment affecting His Excellency, the Governor of Machakos County, Dr. Havran Mutua. I remember as at that time, we did not have a court order declaring the seat vacant, but a motion was almost being discussed. When I raised a point of order, I was told that this is a matter of public what? It is in the public domain, when we had not yet been served. As we stand here, Mr. Speaker, with a gazette notice, clarifying clearly that one, Mr. Mutina Mateva, is not a member of the board. It's very clear that he's not a member, and is not even suitable, or rather, it's not right for us to say that we dwell on the recommendations and ignore the gazette notice. That gazette notice is a legal document. When you, there's what we call Order 5 of the Civil Procedure Act. When you are serving orders, writs, or notices, if it is qualified or confirmed to be a legal document, we have a right to admit and accept it as an assembly. And if possible, we may be forced to even defer the discussion and to allow the assembly, the house enough time to confirm the authenticity of that document, Mr. Speaker. So it's also important that we consider, we look at all the facts that are suitable before we arrive at any serious judgment on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Moses Mita, then I come on this side.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for granting me the opportunity now to make my official contribution to this report. First of all, I want to applaud the Committee of Justice and Legal for coming up with a very elaborative report, Honorable Speaker. Two, I want to be very clear that, Mr. Speaker, from the observations and the recommendations which are being passed by this committee, it's in black and white that the executive erred somewhere in the process of coming up with this board for Mavoko. Honorable Speaker, I again want to thank the executive for trying to come up with a solution on the errors or else issues which have been raised by this petitioner, Honorable Speaker. It's true, man is to error. And Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with the donor funds. And donor funds are very sensitive, Mr. Speaker. And right now we are trying to come up with 16 more municipalities, Mr. Speaker. And it would be very bad, Mr. Speaker, for those municipalities to suffer because of an error which we could have corrected, Mr. Speaker. As much as we want more donor funds to come to our county, Mr. Speaker, it's also good that we apply the law the way it's supposed to be applied, Mr. Speaker. We are not condemning anyone because of this error, Mr. Speaker. As you said earlier, we would not want to character assassinate or dwell on an individual or individuals, Mr. Speaker. What we would want as an honorable house, Mr. Speaker, if an error was committed, we correct. We own and we correct. I'm not in dispute. His Excellency the Governor has gone ahead. He has corrected the error which was there, Mr. Speaker. We are not at war with the executive. We are not at war with any individual, Mr. Speaker. What we are requesting as an honorable house is to apply the law as it is, Honorable Speaker. Today, we are in charge of matters related to the county government of Machakos. And decisions made by this honorable house, Mr. Speaker, might affect generations to come, Mr. Speaker. So if we go wrong today, that wrong will be transferred to innocent generations to come, Mr. Speaker. My humble request, Mr. Speaker, because I've seen the Gazette notice, and if I quote the Deputy President, what he said yesterday, whatever we are passing today to favor you might work against you tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. Let's not go that way, Mr. Speaker. I want to request this honorable house, my colleague has just stated something, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kaloki. The Gazette notice which is being referred as having corrected this mess itself, from what I've read, is erroneous, Mr. Speaker. I would request the executive to implement the error immediately, Mr. Speaker, because we don't have chief executive officers. What we have is county executive committee member. When they state about chief, someone can challenge that issue tomorrow. He or she can say, Madam Evelyn Kavu was not a chief. She was a county as per the rules which we follow in this house, Mr. Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I said I would not want to go to persons because a mistake was done. The committee has identified that mistake. The only thing we can do right now is to correct that mistake and we move forward. This board, Mavoko Municipality Board, Kangundo Municipality Board, Machakos Municipality Board, they need to work. And I can say, standing here, I'm a beneficiary of these municipalities, Mr. Speaker. And I know what it means if that development is denied to our people because of an error which we could have corrected, Mr. Speaker. So I would want we sober up as a honorable house. Yes, that mistake was there. It has been corrected, even though a word which I would want to send to the other side. Whoever is in charge of coming up with such sensitive documents need to be very careful to avoid such errors. I assume also this is an error, which is very suicidal. So, Honorable Speaker, personally, I support this report, and I thank the committee. Personally, I'm happy that we are trying to solve the problem, and I hope that soon as possible, the small problem which is remaining, will be corrected, and we move forward in harmony. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Francis Ngunga, Honorable Francis Ngunga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a requirement of law that if a member has interest, before he speaks, he needs to voice that interest. And I'm quoting Standing Order number 86 of our Standing Order, which, Mr. Speaker, after listening to most members here, our standing orders for a long time have been mutilated. Actually, I've been listening, Mr. Speaker, to the way we conduct our debate, and I think we need to go for a seminar because this way we are going to end up wrongly, Mr. Speaker. This I must voice with a lot of concern. Because if a member raises a hand and says that you need to inform other members, that hand should be given so that you get that correction, so that the house goes in the right direction. Mr. Speaker, some of us must be credited with the fact that we are founding members of this house. And when we sit around here, we are here, we listen, and we can give guidance. Mr. Speaker, that is why I'm working up with a standing order, and I am quoting Standing Order number 86 that says, Section 1, if a member who wishes to speak on any matter in which the member has a personal interest shall first declare the interest. A personal interest include pecuniary interest, proprietary interest, personal relationship, and business relationship. Mr. Speaker, in this matter here, I would like to declare that the person in question is my little brother. His name is Anthony Kingongunga. He's a brother who comes after me. And so it is good for the house to get to know that. As I speak, that is my brother. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to challenge the members of the house. Let us debate openly. Let the debate of my brother not look like it's going to divide the house. Because my brother is an entity, I am an entity. I am a member of the County Assembly, he is not a member of the County Assembly. He was vetted by this house. Mr. Speaker, I do not sit in the committee that vetted him. He was brought to this house and was passed by this same house here. I was not even there that day. Mr. Speaker, if this petition had not come up with these issues here, I did not know whether the name of my brother would be here before this house. But thank God, at least this petitioner raised these issues, and here we are now. But the question that I want to pose to this house here is, for how long is this house going to deal on technicalities that are unending? Because looking at what we are discussing here, Mr. Speaker, I have realized here we are simply talking about technicalities and technicalities. Look at what Honorable Mr. is talking about. He's talking about a gazette notice where the difference between a C and a C has different meanings, where one C means county and the other one means, I don't know, executive or chief or something like that. Mr. Speaker, we must be alive to the fact that honorable members are valuable debates that should be ahead of us that are going to assist us. Today, Mr. Speaker, you are aware that we have $1 billion shillings that is lying in the banks here that we need to be put into considerable use for the benefit of our people who brought us here. Mr. Speaker, the debate as before the House here has a bearing on when that money is going to be used or not. It doesn't matter the way the direction the debate goes, but it will have a bearing on whether that money is going to be used or not. And Mr. Speaker, let us suffice to say, Honorable Nda was raised here to say that let us also look at petitioners when they come to this house. Do they come in clean hands? How do they come here? How do they come here? How do they find their way here in this house here? Because, Mr. Speaker, it's common knowledge that one Urbanus Matiba that is known to me very well, he served with me as my junior when I was serving as the Deputy Secretary General of Kupet in this country. He was the second vice chairman. He's a man that is known to me very well. I served with him for the last 7 years in the headquarters. And this is a man that I have always known as a guy who always gets to people, especially
A point of order, Mr. Speaker.
I will put this, Mr. Speaker,
Point of order,
in
Mr.
order,
Speaker.
so that the House gets to know that I've first of all declared my interest.
Honorable Francis, point of order. Honorable Kingori, George.
I would like to know whether, Mr. Speaker, it's not for Honorable Goga to initiate what he is speaking about, the person who cannot even defend himself in this house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for just a minute, let's just say.
I'm just, Honorable Ngunga.
Yes, my brother.
I've not done anything wrong. What I'm advising is this. Whatever you contribute in this house, be in a position to produce evidence. If it is hearsay, because saying is a person who follows on another one, there is no information. Can you give us written evidence before the House? Written evidence?
Let me just respond, Mr. Speaker.
Can you give written evidence before the House on that?
You know,
If
Mr.
it is
Speaker,
not there, withdraw and proceed, Honorable Ngunga.
I just want to tell you, Mr. Speaker,
Withdraw.
when it comes to withdrawing of tabling of evidence, of course, people are given time. One of the things that you should be asking me, given time, Honorable Ngunga, will you be able to
Honorable
table?
Ngunga, let me just give advice on this. We are contributing on a petition brought by a member of the public, and the petition we are bringing, which the petitioner has brought before the House, are specific issues which the petitioner has raised. As a House, we are not going to sit here to discuss the personality of the petitioner. That is not subject to discussion by honorable members here because it is not an item before the House. Let us restrict ourselves. My guideline is let us restrict to the issues the petitioner has raised and not the personality. Because the minute we start discussing on the personality, then now we do not have any backup to back that personality you're talking about. And this is a house of order. We cannot sit here to discuss personalities. Kindly restrict yourself to the issues the petitioner raised before the House for the purposes of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me continue. But before I move on, I still want to say, Mr. Speaker, without, of course, having to mention a lot about that, say that an action, somebody's action has a lot of bearing on his character. So when I bring it about the character of the guy that I wanted to talk about here, of course, we'll give you a basis on which he's behaving. But, Mr. Speaker, let me just say that when a petitioner brings in a petition to this House, it is the honors of this House to look at both the petition and even the petitioner, because you must get to know where the petitioner himself is coming from. Because like I said, the petitioner here was one nominated board member. And this petitioner's name was in this House here. And so the petitioner's name was part of the board. And during some stage of the board, the petitioner's name was expunged from the same board here. So when the petitioner now goes around to bring a petition here, alleging that 1 and 2, 3 things were not done, of course you need honorable members to look at that with clean hands and ask yourself, did this petitioner come to this House meaning well, so that he was pointing at issues that the board was limited in? Mr. Speaker, I went to school with my brother. My brother did not go to schools here, did not go to the local universities here, went to universities out. And as a family, we bore the bearing of his fees. Today, when my brother was called before the interview, therefore he did not need to prove that we had any obligations at the help. My brother is married to a police inspector, one Alice Kingo. Now, I wonder whether my brother would not have been in a position to give a police clearance when his darling is actually a police officer. These are some of the facts. These are some of the facts that we also need to look at the House and we look at ourselves in the mirror. Do we actually mean well when you talk about some of these things. When I say my brother, my sister-in-law is a police officer. Just a minute, Honorable Kingori. Let me just finish up this.
A point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Is there any order you are trying to raise?
Honorable Ngunga.
Point of
It's
order,
just
Mr.
a guy who's waking up to mumble.
Point of order.
Honorable Ngunga. The House has rules. You direct yourself to the chair. You are not. When you're in this House, we need to speak honorably. Just address yourself to the chair. The House does not give, the House follows standing orders. The House does not give, I'm not going to use the word Adam, but the House only follows legal things. Doesn't look at anybody. Doesn't matter who you are. When you are here, you are honorable member of the House and you behave according to the rules of the House. The honorable member has raised a point. You take your seat. The honorable member contributes. He represents 30,000 people from Odwani. You can't shout him down as if there is nothing he has to offer. Address yourself through the chair and let the honorable member contribute, give you the point of information you wanted, and you will continue. Honorable Kingori.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like also, through your share, I would like to know whether if you are a big fish somewhere, you need to produce the document needed by the law, or you just use your name to give those documents because you are known. Whether you give them verbally or you show what is there. So we deal with the documents, not personalities. I want to know why he failed, if we have those documents, why he failed to show those documents here. And instead of telling us about his history, we don't want to know, because what we needed is a person to represent the people of Machakos, of Mavoko. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you. Before you proceed, Honorable Ngunga, I think again, I would like to say that there's a committee report before us. And as I've said before, they have looked at all these issues concerning documentation. Let us restrict ourselves to the issues on hand. I think the committee has talked about documentation. He's talking about documentation. Let's talk about documentation. President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, if he goes for an interview somewhere, which requires him to show a certificate of good conduct, the president will come with a certificate of good conduct. He will not say that since he's the president, he's exempt, because remember, he himself, when he went to present himself before the IEBC to be given the clearance to run as the president of this country, he had a certificate of good conduct attached to him. So let us restrict ourselves to the law and not to personalities. You may conclude, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, as a man who is advantaged for having sat in a class of literature and having also taught literature for some while, I speak in this way so that I can broaden the minds of people so that they can also see from where I'm coming from. And you see, what I was trying to say is that it would not have been a really big task for the the men that you're complaining up to come up with that document. So I'm saying, since the document was brought up here, even that time that the House was asking for it, he could have actually assessed it. That was actually my point. You know, Mr. Speaker, again, you must also give us latitude in which we need to also swim. Some of us have actually, for a long time, Mr. Speaker, before I sit down, I've also been wondered, for how long shall we not be able to express ourselves in different ways so that even those who are here can also get the kind of men that are here? Some of us, Mr. Speaker, are not used to straight talking. We talk in paradox, we talk in proverbs, and some of us have also qualities of talking wise sayings. Mr. Speaker, realize that my background is literature, English, and that, and that, and that. And you'll give me these excuses. So, Mr. Speaker, going back to this question here, I just wanted to ask members, please, members, I know for a long time we have dwelt on this side, on this side, on that side of the executive, on this side of the assembly. Let me tell you something, members. It is time now we woke up from those strong positions that we have been having, started looking at ourselves as if we were one house, a house that is going to be positive in what we look at here. As Honorable Mr. says, mistakes can always be corrected, and especially if they are not grievous mistakes. Some of these mistakes that are before us are mistakes that we say, we are sorry about this one here. Next time, don't do it. This house has that prerogative. We are bestowed with that power. But of course, Mr. Speaker, when people want to move in one direction, that is possible. But when people want to take serious stands, this will not be possible. I want to ask my members here and my colleague members, not for the sake of the guy I've talked about here, but for the sake of even future debates, let us even make easier our debate. Let us look at the issues that are there. Let us look at them, peel the mistakes that are there. Let us clothe the mistakes with the right wordings. For example, Honorable Mita, I wish you are telling the clerk here now, substitute this C that meant chief. Rather, chief to mean now what? County. That's a correct error of correction. And that way, I think we'll be a house of honor. That way, I think we'll be a house that will be gaining grounds. And that way, I think we'll be a house that is cultivating love. Other than a situation where, when a petition is brought here, what becomes prominent here is to look at it from, he comes from me. That's why I declared the interest. I said, of course, this is my brother. But I did not even sit in the vetting. I did not even sit here when it was being passed. But I feel obliged, Mr. Speaker, to just say this, let us not be polarized by our political positions. That is going to be dangerous. Members, I want to implore upon you, sometimes when you get to this door here, when we get in here, let us become honorable members that are impartial, that will look at issues impartially. And that way, can only debate become impartial. That way can only be fair. That, Mr. Speaker, will be my contribution today. But, Mr. Speaker, before I sit down again, I also want, on the same note, to ask.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Point of order.
Point of honor from Honorable Mweni.
Yes.
Honorable Ngunga, please resume your seat. Honorable Mweni, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Benedetta Mweni Musyoka, nominated by Wiper. Machakos County is ours. And we can take this report back to the committee so that, as Mheshimiwa Mita has said, we do that. The woman who wants to take the chairmanship, she's from Makueni, and Mr. Ngunga is from Machakos. Let us get the money to be eaten in Machakos. I don't want him to give me, but we take the report to the count. Mr. Speaker, I beg you. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mweni, I have heard you referring to a woman. The report I have before me, Honorable Mweni, is by Mr. Albanos Mutinda Mativa. I do not know where the honorable woman you are talking, the lady you are talking about is which one, because the report we are discussing is by one Mr. Albanos Mutinda Mativa.
Mr. Speaker, point of correction, I'm not talking about the petitioner, but I'm talking about the woman who is competing with Mr. Ngunga. Thank you.
Honorable Mweni, you are out of order. You are discussing issues which are not before the House, and therefore the House will ignore those comments from Honorable Mweni because she's out of order. She's discussing on issues which are not in front of before the House. Honorable Francis?
Let me just conclude, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, after having pleaded with members to look at, we read the ball, we look at it from the point of being positive. I also want to ask members to also look. It's also good to revisit this. Some of these things will also, challenge us. And let us, Honorable Mita, I want you to revisit the act we are just looking at. That is Act, the Act, Section 11 of the same Act, Mr. Mita, you are looking at, Honorable Mita, and this is actually a common knowledge about the urban cities and whatever, and see whether the governor has the capacity to expunge a member from the board, and whether that, when that is done, it's actually legal, so that this guides us as members. And I think that way we'll see from the same point of view.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Point of information?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I want to be very clear, Honorable Ngunga. Very clear. I would wish to repeat myself, Honorable Speaker. I admitted, or else it's in records, that through this notice, the current notice, which His Excellency the Governor has issued, is in one way or another trying to correct a mistake which happened. That is one. Two, the notice itself has an error, which I admit, I said human is to error. We cannot correct a notice, gazette notice here in this house. It can only be corrected by another notice. Correcting that small error, which you know very well is very grievous. So my point is, yes, we have corrected a mistake which was done, either deliberately or not deliberately. No, that's not our issue. Now that going forward, we would want this issue also to have no problems for any other implementation of these boards in future. So my humble request, Mr. Speaker, if you allow, as Mheshimiwa Benedetta has stated, as much as she was out of order. Honorable Speaker, this report, through the chair, it was adjourned. If you can allow, Honorable Speaker, it only takes a week to correct an error. And I think also we still have special gazette notice, which can take less than a week to be corrected, Honorable Speaker. So that, because my point is, the report has got no problems. But our solution has a small error, which this House cannot correct, Honorable Ngunga. And that is, you know that, you are conversant with law. So our advice is for that error to be corrected. It's simple as that, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, so let me give
I was
guideline.
not finished.
Let me give guideline on that, please.
I'm not finished.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Honorable Ngunga. Honorable Moses, the report is before the House. And as I've said, the recommendations which are being made by the House, I've given you a guideline, are not cast on stone. There will be an implementation committee which is supposed to follow up on this document and bring a report before this House within 60 days on the issues which have been raised by this House. Once you adopt this report, that recommendation which will come will say, legal notice number this, corrected item number 1, number 2, number 3. Legal notice number this, it has already been implemented. Item number this, the gentleman is no longer a member of the. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because we are debating a report here. Now, to take it back to the committee, for it to come to include information which has come after the report was tabled before the House, then now we'll be going to the implementation phase already. And that's why I'm giving a guidance and saying the report does got nothing grievous in it. It's adopted by the House. If the House adopts it, then all these corrections can be made, and a report will be brought here by the implementation committee within 60 days. There is enough time before the House, and give those information that those issues have been done.
Information, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Honorable Judas.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think according to the standing orders of this House and the Constitution, the Speaker who sits on the chair should not influence the decision that is going to be taken by the House. So when you tell us, if we adopt, it is going to be taken for 60 days, it means now you are influencing the decision of the House, and that is not allowed in the law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Judas Ndawa, I have not influencing, I'm guiding the House. Mine is to give guidance. Mine is to give guidance. If all the guidance which I'm giving here is out of, there is nothing I'm going to gain from this report. The honorable member has given a suggestion, I was giving a guideline. If the House adopts to return the report and bring it back, that is a prerogative of the House. But the chair gives guideline, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing here, giving you guideline as to how you can be able to effectively do a debate and effectively achieve what the different parties are having. I am not contributing in any debate. I'm only giving a guideline that reports once adopted by the House have an implementation committee which brings a report back to the House within a certain period of time. So, because the Honorable Member talked about the correcting the error takes a week, I wanted to tell him that if now you adopt and say the report comes before the House within a week, and that week is not possible for it to come here, then you'll keep on moving. It is better to go to an area where you have yourself a longer period of time to do the things you want to do. That was the guideline I was trying to give. Thank you. I think, Honorable Ngunga, you conclude because
yes.
Based on the time, I
Let
think you have,
me just, I was just about to finish before Meta came up with that, that thinking, and I think that is the right way. That is the right way to take. And of course, Mr. Speaker, as I earlier indicated, some of us will be here to not only speak, but even bite the bullet. It is true what Honorable Ndawa is saying is true. Let us be honest about this, because when you sit in that chair of privilege, Mr. Speaker, we have no other ways other than to listen to you. But when you speak on a matter that is before members here, before they conclude, Mr. Speaker, and it's like you are given direction, of course, because the members might not be of the opinion as Honorable Meta said, they might not be willing to go with me, but when you now cut the path, they start looking at it from there. Of course, that is what we are calling influence. Mr. Speaker, would want to ask you, when you sit on that chair, keep quiet, let members discuss, only give us position to talk. I'm just saying this.
Thank you,
Mr.
Honorable
Speaker,
Ngunga. Thank you, Honorable Ngunga. Thank you.
You see now?
Thank you. Honorable Ngunga, you are not going to dictate to the chair. Kindly. Kindly. I have never dictated to you. And I always give directions. You are dictating to me what I should do when I'm sitting on this chair. I have given a guideline. That's all what I've given. And I've said it again. Honorable Kamito.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm Alex Kamitu, MC at Allowed and leader of minority in this House. Honorable Speaker, it is important that you are giving us some good guidelines. Honorable Speaker, we have gone through this a well-presented document, report that has been brought to this House. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to talk on areas of procedures. This is a house of procedures, and actually, when reports are brought into this House, Honorable Speaker, you are aware that we are also guided by those sections in regard to sections relating to the report that is brought into this House. So on the strength of today's report, the petition brought by one Matiba is that we clearly understand that one Matiba was also a member of that Mavoko municipality. Honorable Speaker, when I said about procedures is that the right procedures, Honorable Speaker, as per the report, as our today's report, Honorable Speaker, is that the right procedures were carried out, because in this report, it is clearly indicated that even a manager was appointed in regard to what is required as a municipal manager of Mavoko municipality. And on that note, if you check on page 15, Honorable Speaker, on page 1535, it is clearly indicating what the manager did in regard to now the honorable members or the members of the municipality. A resolution was carried out. 2, there was a date when the manager of Mavoko municipality was appointed. 3, there is a copy of oath of office by all members of the Mavoko municipality board, stipulated in section 10.1.1 and section 10.1.1.2 of the Mavoko municipality charter. remembering well, Honorable Speaker, is that there was a charter which was brought into this assembly, and it was passed by the same assembly. So on that strength, Honorable Speaker, were those procedures carried out? It is fully indicated in this report that those reports, those regularities, those procedures were carried out. But to my understanding is that a petition was brought just to see requirements or documents in regard to one member, Anthony, whether he qualified to be a member of the board. And as you said, Honorable Speaker, things are not casted on stones. One, it is clearly indicated in this report that Anthony Ngunga qualifies through his academic documents that during the interview that were seen to be missed. They have been, they were brought at a later date. And if we go by this, by this report, the Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Helen. Go ahead, Honorable Helen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to say that I'm still maybe confused or drunk, because if we had an interview and there was a time set and there were documents, information that were supposed to be brought on the date of the interview, where does it arise that documents can follow after the interview? You know, what kind of competition is that? I'm still not understanding.
Mr. Speaker, point of concern.
Honorable Speaker.
Point of concern.
Honorable Kamitu, you may finish. Please continue with your submission.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, on the strength of documentation that have been presented as a report by this wonderful committee.
Honorable, there is no point of concern anywhere in our standing orders. Mention the point of order and
point of information.
Point of
information.
You said points of concern. That's why I turned you down. Let him continue. Then when you raise now on a point of information. Honorable Committee, you may continue.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm saying if all these procedures were carried out and a report has been brought into this house by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and it is really indicating that where there is an error, it can always be corrected soberly, Honorable Speaker. We should not be dwelling on issues that can be corrected by this house for us to move forward. We cannot waste a lot of time, and especially when it comes to documents that can be presented. If, for instance, for today, if this house requires that those documents are presented to this house, as for example, there is a gazette notice revoking the earlier, and it has been brought to this house. So I'm not seeing any, it is not an offense, Honorable Speaker, if we can move ahead, because our intention is one. The intention of municipality is to give services to the Machakos County. And for this sake, Honorable Speaker, I would request this house. We should not dwell on issues that can be easily corrected by this house. We cannot deal on issues that can be summoned by this house.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker. Point of information.
Honorable Kingori, point of information.
Mr. Speaker, I want to be informed or to inform through the chair whether it's quite okay to say that there are some people who will be given we will not follow orders when which are there in law, or whether you are going to just to speak on speculations, or you are going to follow the law which is in the which is given. I think this is the way of corruption, Mr. Speaker. And also, there's conflict of interest, taking account that Honorable Goga is a member of this house, and his brother is the one who is seeking on the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I think on the issue you have raised about Honorable Ngunga, In his participation, when he was participating, the honorable member correctly quoted his interest in the issue based on standing order number 86, declaration of interest, 86. A member who wishes to speak on any matter in which the member has a personal interest shall first declare that interest. And he did. So I don't think that is an issue. In as far as the honorable member is concerned, he's his brother. He has a constitutional right to be anywhere in any office in the country, and he has declared his the interest. So, Honorable Kingori, I don't think that is that's an issue at hand. But the other point you have raised, it has been noted by the House. Honorable Committee may continue.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to summarize and by saying that, as I said earlier, all these procedures were carried out. Appointment of the chairperson of Mavoko, appointment of members who are names are here, Mr. Stephen Mudhami Kivuva, Mr. Abanas Mativa, Florence Zomo Loko, Mr. Benedict Nzioka Musembi, Shadrach Mbuta, Anthony Ngunga, Mr. Juliet Wamiri, and Ms. Caroline Ndungu, Honorable Speaker. So in this regard, as I said, I want to summarize, is that now the board is in its place and it is really working, because also there was also an appointment and election of the chairperson and vice chairperson of Mavoko Municipality Board. Now that if all this board is in place, and in regard to today's legal, Honorable Speaker, I want to repeat again, legal notice has been brought into this assembly, and one Honorable Ndawa has laid down in front of, in this house, a legal notice. A legal notice is it's a legal notice from a legal notice in regard to gazetted notice, and it is a legal document. So if this legal document has been brought into this house, and as per the recommendation of this committee, they are talking of, Honorable Speaker, page 22, 1, that the governor, Machakos County Government, issues another gazette notice, quoting the right provision of the law and stating the term of office and revoke the gazette notice of 36/3 of 2019, which was based on the wrong provision of the law. And this one has been brought here. What are we talking about? Let's correct the errors and we move ahead as a house. We correct that error, Honorable Speaker, and move ahead. And by so saying, we shall benefit, because we are talking about grant. We are talking about billions of money that we are really waiting for it, for the benefit as a service delivery to people of Machakos. Honorable Speaker, we should be very sober in our minds. Anything that is going to benefit us as an assembly, anything that is going to benefit the executive, for one, the electorate who brought us here, we should be very sober when we are when we are making a decision. So my humble appeal, Honorable Speaker, is that we should go ahead. We should go ahead. And those members who are on the board, they should go ahead to give service delivery for the benefit of Machakos electorate. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Angela.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to make a contribution towards this. Honorable members, we have agreed to be sober and to appear to be non-partial and to be a house of order, a house of justice, and a house that looks at both sides of the coin. Honorable Speaker, we have passionately made contributions towards this debate. We have passionately made contributions. We have passionately quoted a few errors here and there as we are referring to them, some of our honorable members. Mr. Speaker, I would like our honorable members to put themselves in the shoes of the petitioner as well. The fact that the petitioner is not represented here or does not have, maybe I don't know him myself, I'm sure many of us don't know him. If that petitioner was your brother, Honorable Speaker, was my brother, Honorable Speaker, was Honorable Kaloki's brother, Honorable Katumo's brother, how would we look at this petition? We would not look at some issues and say that is a small issue we can correct. We would not look at this petition and say this is a matter that we should not dwell on, let's leave it like that. Honorable Speaker, let's appear to be orderly. Let's appear to apply justice. This is the Justice Committee. And much as we have been put here by the electorate, much as we would like the electorate to benefit from the funding of whatever from the World Bank, Honorable Speaker, let us look at the grievances of the petitioner and address them. Because the petitioner is also a Kenyan, he is also from Machakos County, and he deserves to be heard. Honorable Speaker, I would love this matter to rest peacefully. I'd love this matter to appear before us and to appear to have been addressed in a proper way where justice has been applied. Not having to look at issues like this petitioner is like this, he is not an orderly person. Honorable Speaker, if it was my son we are discussing here and he is the petitioner, I would expect justice to be applied. So if he is somebody's son, he is somebody's brother, he is also one of us, let's appear to be applying justice on his petition and not to be applying partial judgment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Joanna Munyao.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Johanna Munyao, representing the great people of Mutituni. Mr. Speaker, I want to address myself to a few facts. One, that any resident residing either within or without Machakos County and wishes to petition on anything has a right to do that. Another fact is that, Mr. Speaker, Committee on Labor and ICT is a subset of this House. The Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs is also a subset of this House. Mr. Speaker, we are very much aware of the process which led to the formation of Mavoko Municipal Board. Mr. Speaker, the participants faced at some point the Committee on Labor and ICT, which I have said is a subset of this House. All the facts presented by the various competitors were taken into consideration. And Mr. Speaker, just to point on one issue which was raised in the petition, and which I am also a victim at some point on maybe the clearance from the police, or rather the good conduct. We've had cases where you are invited for an interview, you are supposed to submit a certificate of good conduct. You visit the DCI offices, your fingerprints are taken as a gesture that you don't doubt yourself. And before the time when actually they are able to present a certificate, the real certificate, in some institutions we've been allowed even to present the receipts to show that I really visited that office and I was willing to be investigated. And the only issue is that it was an issue beyond my control, and some institutions, in their discretion, have decided either to interview one or decide to turn you away. So, Mr. Speaker, in the same considerations in a Committee of Labor and ICT, I want to imagine not only the person who is being petitioned, there were other cases which were tabled before this, where in the same committee, participants were requested to go and submit some documents, even after having faced that committee. Mr. Speaker, the same report came to us, and we passed it as a house because that was part of us. We looked at it, we read word by word, and unanimously as a house, we passed that report. Mr. Speaker, because I have said we have anybody has a right to petition, Mr. Mativa decided to present a petition, which was looked at by the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, which is also a subset of this House. Mr. Speaker, I have looked at the report, and at some point, there are contradictions because the documents which were said not to have been presented before that Labor and ICT committee, I have seen the office of the clerk, which I believe was under the instructions of the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, writing to the various institutions. And I want to believe they wanted to confirm whether to confirm the existence of the documents which are in question. Some of the questions I've been asking myself are, one, why do we have to write to DCI over a document? How was it intended to be used by that committee? What was the finding of that committee? How was it contributed in coming up with the recommendations? Now that we have seen, even some documents were presented. What the DCI said about the document we sought from them, what the HELP also said about the document we sought from them, what were they meant to clear? And up to the point of a recommendation, did they not even clear? Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I have looked at, to make the recommendations, and I am not doubting our committee, we must be guided all along by the evidence we ask to be presented, how we have assessed the evidence, and then we need to see consistencies as we assess the entire procedure and also the documents presented as evidence. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that however much this assembly may wish to exercise its oversight role over the executive, it is also important that we balance so that we don't also at time or at some point appear to maybe give some impunity. When we assess people and vet them and approve them, we expect that they'll work with the appointing bodies, with the appointing authorities as prescribed within either the public code of ethics or the procedures which govern the operations. And then we must be able to make the difference so that we may not appear like I can be appointed anywhere and decide to work my own way and think or wish that somebody will be there to protect me in any way. Just to end, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that there comes a time when a driver may decide to get rid of a pedestrian and save the lives of some several passengers. It becomes very necessary, although very painful. We will occasionally find ourselves in such scenarios, be it the assembly, be it the executive, and we must always accept that it happens and it is bound to happen. I want to close by saying that if Article 159, subsection 2D of the Constitution is anything to go by, that justice shall be administered without undue regard to procedural technicalities, and if Article 22(3)(d) of the Constitution is also anything to go by, that the court, while observing the rule of natural justice, shall not be unreasonably restricted by procedural technicalities. Mr. Speaker, I would pray that we save the lives of all the areas which are benefiting from the municipality funds. And just, I don't want to use the term ignore, we look at it from a very light point, that we don't dwell so much on technicalities as to just stop the development of our residents, either in Mavoko, Tala, Machakos, and even appear like now we are also creating some gray areas even for the other proposed municipalities within the county. I want to stop there and appreciate the report, but pray that we try to balance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Margaret. Finally, before I call the mover of the motion to respond, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My name is Margaret Mwikali, Special Elect Member by Wiper Party. I wish to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate the Committee on Justice for banning midnight oil to bring a report to this Honorable House. I note that both the petitioner and the accused are both sons of the soil of this country, Kenya. Both of them, wherever they are watching at this house, hoping and praying that they will get justice. Each of them, Mr. Speaker, is entitled and they've got rights to be heard wherever, even if they have no basis, but it will be very, very important for this house to know that they are the only hope this petitioner and the accused have. Mr. Speaker, I have checked on the recommendations of this committee, and I think it is very, very important that we'll read them, note them, and even try to see what the committee did. This committee used the resources of this country, of this county, and they went all the way and even quoted law that we must abide in. This house, Mr. Speaker, is guided by law. And by law, we must die or live. I recommend, Mr. Speaker, that actually the small mistakes that we are calling very small, they can be very, very belaboring later. They might be looking very much technical and small, but later this county may actually blame us for doing something that we thought was so small. Mr. Speaker, I know some grant is at stake, but it is very, very important for us, as we think of that grant, to know that everybody in this county will count on our serious and very sober decision about this. Mr. Speaker, I think it is very important. First of all, let us correct this mistake. It might take a few days, it might take a few months, but at the end of this day, the two sons of Machakos County will rest assured that this house did not waste their trust on them. I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. May I call the mover of the motion to respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank all the honorable members for debating this issue in the manner which they did. It was a very difficult report to write. Remember, Mr. Speaker, this petition came about from a report which was done by a committee of this House. The committee recommended the appointment of this person we are talking about. After the committee recommended, that resolution was brought to this House, where we are all here. And then when the vote was asked, all of us here said, yes, let us pass the committee's recommendations. When then now we are talking about this honorable person here, I would wish to request the committees, when they are doing committees work and recommending some issues like this, let them go through the process, proper process. And even in this House here, don't just stand and applaud that we pass it, but go on detail by detail. Because all of you saw the document, you passed it, and then now some of us are saying the report is not good. I would wish us all to be clear when we are doing all that. I want to thank my Committee on Justice. Mheshimiwa Kamtuma was there when we are trying to come up with resolutions. I had also to call the Speaker on the same to give guidance. Honorable members, I thank you, and may you all do justice where it is due. Thank you.
I thank you very much, Honorable Mofat Maida, the Chairman, the Justice and Legal Committee. Honorable members, I now put the question that this Honorable House approves the report of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on public petition by Mr. Albanos Mutinda Mutiva against the following. One, the Gazette Notice number 3633, dated 30th April 2019, as relates to the appointment of Mavoko Municipal Board members by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Governor of Machakos County Government. And two, the nomination, approval and appointment of Mr. Anthony Kengunga as a board member of Mavoko Municipality. As many as other opinions say ayes.
Ayes.
As many as other counter opinions say nay.
Nay.
The nays have it. Honorable members, before I conclude, just have a seat before I conclude for the day. There is a next motion which I would request the Honorable Clerk to go ahead and call it out so that we can be able to make it. I want to make a decision on it. Go ahead, Mr. Clerk, next order. Okay, honorable members, I have been told that there are members who have stood to contest the decision, so we are going to do
Mr. Speaker, nobody requested for division. They just stood quietly. They stood quietly.
Honorable Speaker.
Nobody requested.
Honorable Speaker.
Nobody. We must produce the procedure.
No. Honorable members, can I finish this, please?
It can't be done through a clerk.
Yes,
it is coming.
The clerk doesn't make a decision in this house.
It is coming from
the
order.
Yes.
Order.
Nobody called for division.
Order in the house. Honorable Minority Leader, for the final time, order in the house. Honorable members, the clerk is giving me guideline. That is their work. I have not the one who has said, put off your mic, please, Honorable Ndawa. The clerk, you saw the clerk walk to my. The clerks are here to give us guidelines. So the issue here is this. I'm making a decision.
No, wait. We need
Honorable
also to talk.
Ngunga I am speaking and I would like the chair to speak in silence. The issue on hand is this. I am being guided on standing order number 68, roll call division claimed. Read your standing orders. If on a question other than a question of procedure, 5 or more members rise in their places to support the member claiming the roll call division, the Speaker shall direct a division to be taken in every instance where the Constitution or national legislation lays down that a fixed majority is necessary to decide any question. That is the issue I'm talking about. Now, that is a standing order. And if I'm guided by the Secretariat on a standing order as a chair,
I have Speaker.
Once I put, listen to, order please, order please. They don't need to call, they simply stand up on their seats. They stood. You stood? You stood? They
We
all
stood.
So, honorable members, what I'm saying is this. I had already made a decision. No, listen, order please. I don't have to throw somebody else, honorable members, because I'm going to. Believe you me, I'm going to, with the repercussions that follow. The standing order says once a question has been put and the House has reached a decision, I've said the nays have it. They stood. Do you understand me? They stood. It has to follow that procedure. They cannot stand before. So why don't we, honorable members, why don't we do something very simple? And I'm giving direction here. Let's do division. We finish and we go ahead. Division, Mr. Clerk, can you prepare for a division, please? Those who are saying nay, those who are saying yes. And I believe, Honorable Ngunga, whichever way it is going, anyway, go ahead, let's do.
Mr. Speaker, I wish you could even give us some time to also speak something. If you could listen to this, Mr. Speaker.
I have given Honorable Ngunga, I've given direction. And for the final time, once I made a decision, let's make division.
But
you may be
I'm
seated.
just asking, if you would allow me, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ngunga, please have a seat. I know you are interested in this issue.
No, I'm not interested. I just want for the sake of posterity.
So if you could listen to Honorable Judas Ndawa, you'd be. Let's continue. Clerk, can we have the division, please? Ring the division bell. Okay. Honorable members, I have given direction. I have said that what I've been directed by the Secretariat is that honorable members stood up on their seats, and I saw them standing up. And they don't have to say division. They just stand up on their seats. And Honorable Ngunga, I have said that, and I want us honorable members to listen to this carefully. I am being guided by the chair, by the Secretariat.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, if you allow.
Order. Mr. Speaker.
Whichever way it is,
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kamitu.
Mr. He has no powers. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable
You need
Speaker.
it's a matter of procedure.
Honorable
Procedure.
Speaker.
Yeah. Nobody.
Honorable Moses, you may approach the chair.
Honorable Speaker, I think...
you may approach the chair. Just approach the chair, please. Okay, Honorable Moses Mita.
Honorable Speaker, I think we don't need to look like we are fighting. Honorable Speaker, this House has made improvements on the way we communicate with the outside world, Mr. Speaker. And I want to be very clear. I want the outside world to know very clear my stand as an honorable member, Mr. Speaker. I would want to vote as a person, not as a group, Honorable Speaker. And there is a reason for everything, Honorable Speaker. I don't want to carry liability in future on a mistake which this House might have committed, Mr. Speaker. We still have a long way to go ahead of us. I don't know about tomorrow whether I'll be facing a committee somewhere to interview me, Honorable Speaker. And as I said, the matter at hand involves donor funds, Honorable Speaker. That camera there, Honorable Speaker, someone in the United States of America is accessing this Honorable House real time, Honorable Speaker. I think, as I said earlier, I have got no personal interest in this report other than stating what I believe is the rightful thing to be done, Honorable Speaker. If there is any mistake which has been done before, let it be corrected in the right way. But Honorable Speaker, as an individual, whether you rule it right or wrong, I don't want to carry liability for the days ahead of me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. You may stop ringing the bell and close the doors. I have one.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
The doors should be locked.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker, kindly.
That's what is written here.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker, kindly, before we proceed. Mr. Speaker, I just want to point out something.
So,
Mr. Speaker,
honorable members, is pointing out to me we also have
other
chamber
members
on the outside.
Yeah, but I want to point out something.
Therefore, I need also to ensure that it is done. So I want to have one clerk stand for
before you do that,
one clerk to count the nays, and I would like, when you're doing the division, every member to just wake up and be able to say that
yes
they
or
voted yes or
no.
They voted no for the motion individually as a member, so that now
Mr. Speaker, please
close this matter.
Just as though you have allowed him, just to point out something. Mr. Speaker, kindly.
Can I have?
It's life and death. I swear, I need to point out this.
Can I?
Mr. Speaker, please.
Honorable members.
Let me just talk.
Honorable members.
It is going to help us.
It's a simple division.
But what am I supposed? I just need to say something. Please, kindly. It is for the sake of this debate, by the way. Just a minute. Yeah. Why? After you have made a decision, the way he has spoken.
Yes, I am going to do that.
So no,
I am going to give him a chance.
Yeah. Let me just say, it's
point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Point of information.
Thank you. No, Mheshimiwa Kamito, please. Mheshimiwa Speaker. Tafadhali, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
But whichever direction is going to do.
No, there's no problem. There is no problem. There is no problem. But you know, Mheshimiwa Speaker, mimi nimetangulia na kusema kwamba lazima kwa hii nyumba lazima tuwe fair. Because, Bwana Speaker, it is very clear here when members can take a division. Mr. Speaker, this I must say with a lot, because this is our Bible. There is no Bible. Another idea. Listen, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Roko division claimed. Members, I am reading Standing Order number 68. It says, the Speaker shall direct a roll call vote to be taken if a member claims a division and A, the Speaker considers that there is a reasonable doubt as to the outcome of the vote in question. Just a minute. This is a standing order. I am saying, in the opinion of the Speaker, if, for example, we do not know the direction the vote is taking, the Speaker here had ruled clearly that the nays had it. So where is the division coming to? This is not my standing order. It's a standing order for Machakos County Assembly. We use it or we reject it.
Thank you.
But this is it now.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
We must be clear members of this assembly, surely.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
We must be sure. Let us not mutilate debate.
Thank you.
It is wrong. This I say.
Honorable Ngunga.
It is wrong.
Honorable Ngunga, sit down. Before you say something, can I give a guideline, please? Because I think it's intentionally, their house has been made unruly intentionally. And the issue which we are discussing on hand, you cannot call a division before a question is put and before a decision is made. I want you to understand clearly that the Speaker has to wait for a decision. I have to make a decision first. I have to listen, and I make a decision. Then somebody after that is when they call for vote. How do you call for vote before the Speaker? The Speaker cannot call this. I'm giving you a guideline based on the standing order. You cannot stand up on a division before I make a decision. They had to wait until the Speaker made a what? A decision. So I made a decision. When I made a decision, they stood up. Then, listen to me. The Secretariat advised me. So now, he cannot mislead me. I follow because they are the people who are on procedure, not me. They give the procedure. So what they have given me is a direction that we go on vote. And therefore, there is nothing wrong to go on vote because whichever way it is. Go ahead, Honorable. And this is the final, because after that, please, we prepare one to take the ayes, the other to take the nays, and then we go ahead. Go ahead, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want us to be very fair to one another. The only difference between us and where you are seated is because you have been privileged to be given that chair. No one, and the act is very clear, no one stood up and shouted or presented a case of a division, a call of division. It's only the clerk who whispered. Just the same way, you would not allow a clerk to whisper to you that Mheshimiwa Kalok wants to say ABCD. We are not going to entertain that. We are not going to allow that. We are not going to give room to our clerks to be interfering with the process of this honorable House, Mr. Speaker. We are not going to accept that. If it came from the members that they wanted a division, we would allow that. And kindly, Mr. Speaker, from today on going forward, let's kindly be fair with one another. We are all members of this honorable House. We were elected. We were all number ones. And we must be listened to. We must be respected.
Thank you. Now, which honorable members stood up for division? I want to know their names and I, for purposes of the answered, the members whom I can see who have stood up for division, there is Honorable Ngunga. I hope you are not standing up for division, so sit down. So you better sit down because I can see you are up. Sit down. The members who have stood up are Honorable Justice Katumbo.
Some information, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Geoffrey Kamundu.
Mr. Speaker, some information.
Honorable Angela Munyasia.
Information, Mr. Speaker, please.
Honorable Constance Bula, I don't have to throw you out. I'm simply naming names here. After that, I'll give you the information you need.
Mr. Speaker, sorry to say, but this will be passed. If you name...
It's not passed. As far as I've made the ruling, it's not passed, so that's okay. Honorable Moses Mita and Honorable Christine Koki. So we do have more than 5 names of members who stood up. And I have been informed they claimed for division. So we are going to go on division.
Mr.
And
Speaker,
have
can I
one
speak
clerk
now?
here.
Mr. Speaker, point of information then.
My friend, I'm talking to you. You will be taking which ones?
Mr. Speaker,
The ayes? And you
some
take the nays.
information, please.
So let me have the roll call voting, please, going on.
Mr. Speaker,
those who are saying
information.
ayes, please stand up.
Mr. Speaker, please.
Ones for ayes, please stand up. And I want to see on the outside chamber also, so that we can be able to count everybody. Those for ayes on the outside chamber, you need to stand up. So, those voting ayes on the outside chamber, the clerk on the outside, you need to count, you write the names of the ones who are ayes there, please. Write them down. How many do you have on the outside chamber? Pardon me? I can't hear you. Clerk Luca Maingi, I cannot hear you.
7.
How many?
7.
7. 7 on the outside and on the inside? Okay. Those saying nay, please raise up. And on the extended chamber?
$11.
Those are the ones saying nay?
11.
So, can you get the total numbers for me, please? Thank you, honorable members. I have the results for me. The ayes are 17. The nays are 23. The nays have it. Honorable members, next order, please.
Order number 9. Approval of report on Machakos County Stadium program.
Honorable members, we do have that business which is to be transacted by the Honorable Geoffrey Kamulu. Honorable Geoffrey Kamulu, and I would like the House to take into consideration the fact that right now, look at my watch, it's already 2:30.
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
Honorable members have not yet gone for lunch.
Point of information.
And therefore, I would like to make a decision that the Honorable Geoffrey Kamulu will move his motion in the afternoon. We'll be able to continue with the discussion in the afternoon session. Before I adjourn the House to the afternoon, what I would like, put off your mic, Honorable Judas now. Before I put off the House or I adjourn the House to the afternoon, I would like to say this, a few words, which are important. That the purpose of a chair here is to give guidelines. and to give you guidelines in as far as procedure is concerned. But the chair is also given guidelines by the secretary. That's why they are called the clerks. That's why you see them sitting there. That is their duty. If they don't advise the chair, then the blame will go on them for lack of following proper procedure. And once the chair is corrected by the secretarian or by the clerk, the table desk, the chair follows the procedures as has been directed by the table desk. And I cannot now rise up and say, you have given me that advice based on the procedure, and I turn it down. Number two, the issues raised by the petitioner and the report which was brought before this house, which I've read it, you have made your decisions. This is my personal opinion, is that the petitioner was after the law being followed. The petitioner was after the law being followed. And it is clear that the law was not followed because the executive went ahead and did another gazettement to correct the previous error which was there. So, there is nothing wrong with the petitioner. There is nothing wrong with what the petitioner did. There is nothing wrong with the recommendations which were done by the committee, because the committee, as far as I'm concerned, recommended that a proper gazettement be done, recommended that people should listen to one another, recommended that that gentleman, from the time he was appointed to the time he has been deappointed, he gets his remunerations, which he'll have to get because that is the law. So, when we vote down a report which is giving good recommendations as a house, I'm just giving a guideline as a house.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
We are not.
I'm just asking, point of asking. Is it asking or doing what?
Honorable Ngunga, therefore, today you have really tried my patience, but I'm going to say I'll take it. So the issue, Honorable Ngunga, you may get out of the chamber, please. Honorable members, so as a house of procedure and as a house of law, it's important for us to look at if a member of the public brings a petition before the house seeking justice, seeking for the house to look at areas where we even knew ourselves we made a mistake. We made a mistake. The honorable chair of the committee said that those things were brought before the house and we passed resolutions. But a member outside there saw a mistake in the law and brought it before the house for correction. Are we saying that when the public sees something which is against the law and they bring to us, we brush them aside? Are we saying that we cannot make mistakes ourselves as a house also? Of course we can make mistakes. Of course we did make a mistake in this one. Of course the chair of the committee has allowed it to the same. That the report which came here should have considered those items and ensured that the law was followed. So, we have passed our resolution on the report. But my comment will be this. Let us not personalize issues pertaining to the law. The law is the law. If the law says that a gazettement needs to be done in this way, then let the gazettement be done in that way. If the law says that for you to do an interview, come with these documents, then go with the documents. That is the law. But we cannot come back later on and start changing facts here simply because we are taking sides. Tomorrow, it will be somebody. Tomorrow, after 2022, this team here might be sitting here. And this team here might be sitting here. And it will be a report which will be brought by the other side, which will be showing errors in law, which will be debating here. Are you going to make a different opinion from what you have made here? Because what you have done here has gone into law, into history. That a petitioner came, I tried to give directions. A petitioner came before this house seeking, just saying that this and this law was broken, and the house said it was not broken. Thank you, honorable members. With that, the house is adjourned to resume again to Tuesday, the 27th day of October, 2020 at 3:30 p.m. Thank you, honorable members.